The members of the Yi family visibly paled in response. Yi Rongqian, though seething internally, was on the brink of speaking. Yi Rongdao clenched his teeth, his face awash with humiliation. Only Yi Qianfan took a deep breath, his expression shifting between shadow and light. Ultimately, he sighed and conceded. The waves of the Yangtze River pushed the previous waves aside. It seems we of the Yi family have failed to recognize a worthy individual and have inadvertently offended a person of significance. You are correct. When a child misbehaves, it is indeed the father who must bear the blame. A father's debt must be settled by the son. The bitterness and helplessness weighed heavily on Yi Qianfan's heart. Jiang Yuan's strength had been meticulously investigated before his arrival. On the surface, he appeared to be the authority of Carlo Law Firm and Lawrence Academy. However, this was merely one of his identities in Xiqing. In Nansheng, he had substantial foundations and connections. Even the wealthiest man in Nansheng, Su Tianhao, shared a significant relationship with him. A young man of such inscrutable power was not someone he wished to provoke further. Resorting to intimidation through force was merely a last resort. Moreover, he had already lost that option. If he truly wished to maintain peace, he might have to set aside his pride. Yi Qianfan sighed repeatedly, lamenting, Yi Qianfan have been in this world for decades, commanding respect and fear, basking in glory. Yet I find my twilight years to be so absurd. Yi Rongtian's eyes reddened, wanting to step forward but was firmly restrained by his brother. Jiang Yuan, with a calm demeanor, slowly dismounted from his horse, gesturing for Yi Qianfan to proceed. Seeing this, Yi Qianfan had no choice but to slightly hunch over, akin to a stable hand leading the horse. The Yi family members nearby were nearly wide-eyed in disbelief. What was the old master doing? It seemed he was bowing to that young man. Could it be that the Yi family trio had all succumbed, that they had all lost? A shift in power was imminent. Xiqing was undoubtedly on the brink of transformation, its power dynamics about to be reshuffled. Just then, a lady's Ferrari approached from a distance. Inside the car sat a middle-aged woman with a somewhat fierce demeanor. Her appearance exuded elegance and grandeur, and her almond-shaped eyes were rather captivating. She was Lu Shishir's stepmother, Lu Yuerong. Beside her sat a close friend, and the two were engaged in conversation. Shishir is utterly thoughtless. Today, as youth truly understands so little, unlike our generation. Lu Yuerong sighed. Her friend nodded in agreement, remarking, Indeed, the young master of the Yi family is remarkable. To marry into such a prestigious family is a fortune that one could not earn in several lifetimes. However, her friend cautiously added, but it seems the Yi family has encountered some troubles recently. Lu Yuerong scoffed. A starving camel is still larger than a horse. Even if a billionaire faces difficulties, they remain 100-millionaire. Moreover, the distribution of the old master's inheritance will still require the Yi family's assistance. Upon hearing this, her friend wisely fell silent, recognizing that this matter involved Lu's private affairs. Even after years of friendship, some topics were best left unspoken. Lu Yuerong sighed again, saying, since Shishir returned from her hometown, that place called Qinghe Township, she has become increasingly unruly. What is it but a remote and impoverished area? You question what kind of man could possibly be worth courting from such a trifling place, suggesting that it is likely just a handful of impoverished youths who have bewitched her, given that she is still so young and naively unaware of the world. My concern is that she may be deceived. A close friend chuckles. Youth is often like this. Lu Yuerong remarks. The Yi family is vast and influential, particularly their chairman, Yi Qianfan, who is, before she could finish her sentence, a scene unfolding not far away momentarily distracted her. With a hint of astonishment, she squinted and strained to widen her gaze. There, before her, stood Yi Qianfan, the chairman of the Yi group, now behaving like a lowly servant, leading a horse and tending to its trappings. Lu Yuerong gasped. Yi Qianfan is personally tending to a horse? Who is this young man? Chapter 141. A humble acknowledgement. Jiang Yuan quietly observed the elderly man who was dutifully leading his horse. One of the formidable figures in Xiamen, the head of the Yi family conglomerate, was surprisingly willing to deign to personally tend to his steed. Jiang Yuan had deliberately made such an audacious request, yet the man did not refuse. His profound composure was admirable, a testament to his status as a self-made individual from an earlier generation. Jiang Yuan inwardly sighed. He had posed this demand to test the other's limits. Yet his curiosity about the true strength of these dominant figures in Xiamen was equally piqued. To his astonishment, the man's demeanor was even more submissive than he had anticipated. Perhaps Yi Qianfan had gleaned some information about him from elsewhere, Jiang Yuan speculated. However, When he caught sight of Yi Rongtian's unwilling gaze from a distance, he couldn't help but find it amusing. That look seemed to convey a promise of vengeance, a vow to avenge today's humiliation. Riding his horse, Jiang Yuan leisurely approached young Master Yi. Yi Rongtian, he chuckled softly. You are arrogant and headstrong, priding yourself as a child of destiny, believing that all good things should rightfully belong to you. Yet here I stand before you, having taken Lu Shishir from you. Do you accept this? Yi Rongtian clenched his fists, filled with resentment and bitterness. Yet, the reality that even his father could not contend with Jiang Yuan weighed heavily on his mind. If he were to turn against Jiang Yuan now, it would only serve to undermine his father's hard work. Although Yi Rongtian's upbringing had fostered a somewhat brash demeanor, he was not devoid of intellect. With a heavy heart, he lowered his gaze and replied, I concede. Lu Shishir had initially been the woman he had set his sights on, one he intended to marry through his family's influence. However, circumstances had shifted and fate had its own way of balancing the scales. Once intent on utilizing his family's power to secure her, he now faced the overwhelming force of Jiang Yuan, who had forcibly taken Lu Shishir from him. The cycle of cause and effect was undeniable, and the retribution was swift. In that moment, Yi Rongtian felt as though all strength had been siphoned from his body. He was accustomed to being the one who bullied others, reveling in his dominance. Yet now, the tables had turned. While it was exhilarating to torment others, the sensation of being on the receiving end was profoundly unsettling. Accustomed to the posture of a superior, he found himself compelled to bow his head. Seeing Yi Rongtian's demeanor, Jiang Yuan felt a renewed urge to tease him further. Your Yi family is vast and powerful, reigning over Xiamen. Yet I have employed my means to cause your family's assets to plummet tenfold, leaving you severely weakened. Jiang Yuan remarked with a light laugh. Such damage cannot be undone in a mere few years. I have harmed your family's fortunes and ruined your assets. Do you accept this? Yi Rongtian's heart bled, yet he recognized the strength of the situation. He had no choice but to acquiesce. Justice does not reside in human sentiment. It is defined solely by the tides of circumstance. Just as grass grows taller with the changing climate, dark clouds inevitably bring forth storms. In this moment, Jiang Yuan had seized control of the situation, deftly orchestrating all that transpired. Yi Rongtian's pride had evaporated, leaving no trace of his former arrogance. He could only lower his head and utter, I concede. Jiang Yuan continued, You, the chairman of the Yi family, a lifelong formidable figure, basking in glory. Yet I have compelled you to perform the act of leading my horse, treating you as a servant. I will extinguish the prestige of the Yi family and seize their renown. Are you willing to comply? Yi Rongtian felt a deep sense of frustration, nearly fainting from anger, and weakly replied, I comply. Jiang Yuan clapped his hands and laughed heartily, his voice resonating like thunder. Ah, I know you may submit outwardly but not inwardly. However, it matters not, for we can take our time. He laughed joyously atop his steed, slowly turning away with Lu Shishir and Yao Wenwen, leaving behind a crowd in stunned silence. Jiang Yuan was undeniably ruthless, a formidable character indeed. Did you capture that scene? Yi Qianfan personally leading the horse for someone. Are you out of your mind? Who would dare to film such a moment? If that footage were to surface, the Yi family would stop at nothing to settle the score, traversing mountains and rivers if need be. Even the three members of the Yi family had no choice but to bow their heads to Jiang Yuan. This man was undoubtedly of significant stature. One must never offend him. The person who felt the most fear and shock was none other than Lu Shishir's stepmother, Lu Yuan. She possessed some assets herself, and had located Lu Shishir through special means. Her intention today was to forcibly bring Lu Shishir back and marry her into the Yi family. Yet now, she felt her worldview had been violently shaken, rendering her incapable of executing her original plan. Yi Qianfan, a figure of such ambition, had actually submitted. Lu Yuan was utterly astonished. What kind of man has Shishir found? It is simply terrifying. Her friend beside her mirrored her astonishment, her mouth agape in disbelief. It was not until about 20 minutes had passed that the two women gradually recovered from their shock. Lu Yuan forced a smile and said, I always knew Shishir was a clever and mature child. The man she chose must be trustworthy. We are older now. We cannot comprehend the affairs of the youth. Let them decide for themselves. Upon hearing this, her friend couldn't help but find it somewhat amusing. Just moments ago in the car, she had insisted that Lu Shishir, being young, lacked experience and understanding. How had her stance shifted so abruptly? Ultimately, it all comes down to the matter of strength. Jiang Yuan rode off with flair. Once the three had exited the crowd's line of sight, Yao Wenwen immediately remarked, Boss, your words back there were quite arrogant. reminiscent of the dialogue of some villain in a film. Upon hearing this, Jiang Yuan promptly patted her shoulder, playfully admonishing, "What nonsense are you spouting? Whether one style is virtuous or villainous depends on the actual circumstances. I have not committed any wicked deeds of oppression. That young master Yi has certainly indulged in his share of mischief. Just look at that foreign lackey of his, so smug and self-satisfied, clearly having bullied many of our compatriots. Do you think I would let him off so easily?" Yao Wenwen found some merit in his words. That day, Peter had approached her with an air of arrogance, evidently a person who acted recklessly and with hubris. As a minion of the Yi family, he could certainly reflect his master's disposition. Teaching them a lesson, after all, seemed quite reasonable. However, Jiang Yuan's subsequent words left Yao Wenwen feeling somewhat amused and exasperated. Jiang Yuan candidly stated, "Moreover, I never claimed to be a paragon of virtue. I am merely an ordinary person, so do not hold me to such lofty expectations." Upon hearing this, Yao Wenwen couldn't help but curl her lips in disbelief. An ordinary person? Are you indulging in a bit of self-deprecation? If you are an ordinary person, then what does that make me? Lu Shih, witnessing their playful banter, found it quite entertaining. However, once the trio returned their horses to the stable, their attention was drawn to a modest Western restaurant next door. Though the establishment was rather small and somewhat unadorned, the enticing aromas wafting from within were enough to make one's mouth water. Through the narrow crack of the door, they caught sight of a slender and graceful woman skillfully preparing a meal in the kitchen. Her figure was delicately proportioned, her curves were enchanting, and her demeanor was captivating. With a slender waist and graceful legs, she exuded an allure that even Yao Wenwen, who usually took pride in her own physique, found herself feeling a twinge of envy. Lu Shih, too, couldn't help but steal a couple more glances. The woman's physique was indeed a rare sight, leaving even her astonished. Chapter 142. A fortuitous encounter with Gu Jianing. The woman possessed a figure whose curves were exquisitely balanced. Any excess would render her slightly plump, while any deficiency would appear too frail. Such a flawless physique could only be deemed a divine creation. Even Jiang Yuan, accustomed to the beauty of many, found himself momentarily stirred. If fate had bestowed such a perfect form upon a girl, one could only wonder what her visage would be like. Would it be harmonious or strikingly contrasting? Jiang Yuan found himself secretly anticipating the beauty of this culinary artist. Yao Wenwen, noticing his interest, proudly straightened her posture and boasted, "Boss, I assure you, I've done my job flawlessly. You will undoubtedly be pleased with this restaurant's female chef." Jiang Yuan patted her shoulder, replying, "You have indeed done remarkably well. Once we have her, you may never need to set foot in the kitchen again. It will be a grand occasion." Yao Wenwen, momentarily taken aback by his words, retorted in a huff, "You." Lu Shih interjected to diffuse the tension. "We haven't even ordered yet. Let us decide on the menu first." Hearing this, Jiang Yuan casually picked up the menu. Although this Western restaurant was modest in size, impeccably clean and spotless, it could only accommodate around a dozen patrons. However, the variety of dishes on the menu was quite impressive. Red wine braised beef, garlic baked potatoes, cumin roasted vegetables, salt and pepper pan-seared steak, lemon grilled salmon, and tomato meat sauce pasta. There were easily dozens to choose from. Jiang Yuan was mildly surprised by the chef's dedication. For some unknown reason, the restaurant's business was not thriving, with only a sparse number of diners present besides the three of them. After selecting 2 dishes, Jiang Yuan passed the menu to Yao Wenwen. "Boss, this is company expense, so I want to hold back," she said, licking her lips. She meticulously placed an order for over 10 dishes before passing the menu to Lu Shih, who shook her head, appearing somewhat preoccupied. "This is sufficient. I shall not order more." With the dishes selected, both the kitchen staff's cooking and serving speed were commendable. The red wine braised beef was tender and flavorful, the aroma intoxicating. The tomato pasta was a delightful blend of sweet and tangy, with the noodles boasting a satisfying chew. The pan-seared steak was cooked to perfection, tender and delectable. Even though Jiang Yuan's palate had been refined by the culinary talents at home, the delightful aromas before him still elicited a sense of wonder. Delightful indeed. Yao Wenwen was equally satisfied. The trio savored their meal with great enthusiasm, entirely engrossed in their dining experience, when a familiar and joyful voice suddenly rang out. "Jiang Yuan, is that you?" Jiang Yuan looked up to discover a captivating woman gazing at him with surprise and delight. Her bright eyes sparkled with an indescribable joy. It was Gu Jianing, the singer he had encountered not long ago during the talent selection at Tianqi Media. Previously, Jiang Yuan had contemplated the possibility of inviting her to reside in his villa in the Dongshan district as the lead singer of his private band once the competition concluded. To his astonishment, fate had orchestrated their encounter once more. "It is you," Jiang Yuan remarked with a gentle smile. "Have you come for a meal too?" Upon seeing Jiang Yuan, Gu Jianyi's face instantly flushed with a delicate shade of crimson, her voice barely above a whisper. "No, I am here to find my sister." Jiang Yuan, intrigued, inquired, "Your sister?" "She is the chef at this restaurant. Her name is Gu Jiahua." "Ah," Jiang Yuan mused, a sense of serendipity washing over him. It was indeed remarkable that the private band vocalist he had chosen amidst the bustling crowd and the private chef turned out to be sisters. Clearly, their parents were exceptionally gifted to have nurtured such talented siblings. Yao Wenwen erupted in excitement, leaning closer to Jiang Yuan and whispering, "Why don't we seize the moment and acquire both of them today?" At this, Jiang Yuan gently tapped her head, signaling her to refrain from causing a ruckus. His perceptive mind and keen insight allowed him to discern that when Gu Jianyi mentioned her sister's name, a flicker of concern and sorrow had illuminated her eyes. It was evident that she was withholding something from him. Perhaps she feared burdening him, or perhaps she believed she could not handle the situation herself. "We would like to meet your sister," Jiang Yuan stated calmly. Gu Jianyi hesitated momentarily. Had it been anyone else making such a request, she would have outright refused. After all, her sister was quite shy and reluctant to meet strangers, particularly given her current circumstances, which were rather delicate. However, Jiang Yuan's demeanor made it difficult for her to decline. Furthermore, he might be able to assist. After a brief pause, Gu Jianyi replied, "Yes, but only you may see her." Jiang Yuan was not surprised by this response. He had instinctively sensed that the Gu sisters were entangled in some troubles. He turned to the two women and said, "Continue your meal here. I shall return shortly." Yao Wenwen and Lu Shishir nodded in understanding. Consequently, Jiang Yuan followed Gu Jianyi to the kitchen, where he met her sister. Aside from her already stunning figure, this woman possessed a beauty that surpassed Gu Jianyi's by a third. Her features were more youthful, radiating a vibrant aura of youthfulness. With an elegant and lively countenance that exuded a spirited charm, a girl whose beauty was reminiscent of a fairy. Yet, her face bore a sickly pallor, and her body appeared somewhat frail. Jiang Yuan had already formed a hypothesis in his mind, but chose to remain silent. When Gu Jiahua spotted her sister, joy illuminated her face, but upon noticing the unfamiliar man beside her sister, she instinctively shrank back, a wave of fear washing over her. It was only when she beheld Jiang Yuan's visage that the emperor's charm radiated upon her like the gentle warmth of the sun. In that instant, she felt a newfound ease in conversing with the stranger. Gu Jianyi introduced Jiang Yuan. "This is my sister, Gu Jiahua." Chapter 143. Jiang Yuan extended his hand with courtesy and grace, saying, "It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Jiang Yuan." Upon encountering his outstretched hand, Gu Jiahua's face flushed crimson, and she instinctively took a few steps back. Her naturally introverted disposition and strict upbringing had rendered her exceedingly shy. Gu Jiajing chuckled. "My sister is a bit timid. Please do not take offense." Jiang Yuan nodded in understanding. However, just as he was about to retract his hand, Gu Jiahua stepped forward hesitantly and, with a trace of anxiety, reached out to grasp Jiang Yuan's hand. Jiang Yuan was slightly taken aback. "I have heard much about you from my sister. You have been a great help to her, so you must be a good person," Gu Jiahua said, her voice quivering with nervousness. "It is a pleasure to meet you. I am Gu Jiahua." Observing her evident trepidation and shyness, along with the palpable tension in her grip, Jiang Yuan felt a swell of intrigue. Her small hand was somewhat cool and smooth, yet the sensation was quite pleasant. A flicker of fondness began to blossom within him. Gu Jiahua, in turn, felt her heart race as she gazed at Jiang Yuan. Young ladies are often sentimental, particularly when confronted with someone as striking as him. Her eyes sparkled with an inexplicable allure. Just as the atmosphere grew subtly charged, Gu Jiajing's phone rang, its tone reminiscent of a playful summer tune. The melody, somewhat kitschy, had an infectious charm that was hard to resist. Gu Jiahua burst into laughter. "Sister, your ringtone is as peculiar as ever." Her laughter illuminated the room like 1,000 blossoming pear trees, enveloping the space in a warm glow. Jiang Yuan felt a stir within. Her smile transformed her demeanor, rivaling the beauty of esteemed figures like Lu Shishir and Su Wanding. Gu Jiajing, feeling her cheeks warm, replied, "I simply adore this vintage ringtone." With that, she turned away to answer the call. However, after only a few exchanges, Jiang Yuan noticed her expression shift from calm to surprise, and then to sheer elation. His curiosity piqued, while Gu Jiahua, observing her sister, felt a spark of hope igniting in her eyes. Once Gu Jiajing concluded the call, her countenance radiated uncontainable joy. To an unknowing passerby, she might easily be mistaken for someone who had just won a multi-million-dollar lottery. With exuberance, Gu Jiajing exclaimed to her sister, "Master Chun has agreed to our request. He is willing to come and treat our father tomorrow morning." Master Chun, the esteemed medical expert they had previously contacted, was indeed the bearer of unexpected joy. The thrilling news sent Gu Jiahua into a near fit of exhilaration. The sisters exchanged jubilant sounds, but as their excitement began to subside, they suddenly remembered Jiang Yuan's presence beside them. Gu Jiani smiled somewhat shyly and said, "Jiang Yuan, we were overly excited. Please do not take offense." Jiang Yuan waved his hand dismissively and inquired, "Is your father unwell?" A shadow flickered in Gu Jiani's eyes as she replied, "Yes. My father's heart condition is not good." Jiang Yuan expressed his astonishment. Even the many hospitals in Xiqing are at a loss. To him, modern medical technology had advanced significantly, rendering it implausible that heart-related issues could remain unresolved. Gu Jiani nodded. "Indeed, this ailment is rather tricky. Even after a comprehensive examination costing tens of thousands at the hospital, they could not identify the issue." After a brief hesitation, she added, "Our family has a hereditary heart condition, which is quite rare. There are hardly any documented cases in modern medicine, and aside from top-tier medical experts, there seems to be little hope." Hearing this mention of a hereditary ailment stirred something within Jiang Yuan. His own family bore a similar genetic affliction, albeit less severe. It merely manifested as a seasonal redness and congestion of the nose during winter, not significantly impacting overall health. Yet this minor ailment often caused him discomfort, fostering a sense of empathy toward hereditary diseases. Thus, he involuntarily asked, "Is this condition severe when it manifests?" Gu Jiani replied with a hint of sorrow. "Most family members experience a rapid decline in health as they age. In severe cases, they may peacefully depart this world in their sleep. Our family used to run a moderately sized Western restaurant, but regrettably, a year ago my father's hereditary illness suddenly worsened, forcing us to sell both the restaurant and our house to cover medical expenses." Upon hearing this, Jiang Yuan fell into a contemplative silence, gaining a preliminary understanding of the dangers posed by such hereditary ailments. The Gu sisters were both exceptionally talented, one in singing and the other in culinary arts, possessing both beauty and talent. Yet, burdened by this peculiar hereditary condition, their prospects for longevity seemed bleak. Jiang Yuan then inquired, "What about Master Chun?" Gu Jiahua explained, "Master Chun is an old friend of our father's. It is said that he has gained considerable fame overseas and is one of the foremost experts in the study of heart diseases. His assistance may prove invaluable." Jiang Yuan nodded, realizing that they were being aided by a distinguished individual, a friend of their father's. However, a thought crossed his mind. "How much do you still owe in medical expenses?" he asked. At this somewhat pointed inquiry, both Gu Jiani and Gu Jiahua fell silent. The mention of financial burdens extinguished their earlier joy. After a moment of contemplation, Gu Jiani spoke. "Over the past year, we have borrowed from relatives to gather the medical fees. While we owe little to the hospital, we are indebted to friends and family for a significant sum. Approximately 4 million. 4 million is indeed a considerable amount for an ordinary person." A subtle stir arose within Jiang Yuan as he inquired, "So your participation in the talent selection is also to aid your father's treatment?" The champion of the Tianqi talent selection not only enjoys an exceptional opportunity to enter the industry, but also stands to receive a substantial monetary reward. Gu Jianing nodded in affirmation. After a moment of contemplation, Jiang Yuan remarked, "Perhaps I could assist you in covering the medical expenses." Upon hearing this, the Gu sisters exchanged astonished glances, their surprise palpable. However, Jiang Yuan raised a hand, cautioning, "Please do not be overly excited. I did not imply that it would be without cost." Gu Jiahua's heart raced with anxiety as she asked, "What is it that you desire?" Without hesitation, Jiang Yuan nodded, declaring, "Indeed, I have a request." Gu Jiahua, gripped by fear, pressed, "What do you want?" Jiang Yuan replied, "I wish for both of you." "For the two of us?" The sisters felt their hearts halt in trepidation. "Yes, I want you both as my personal singers and chefs." The Gu sisters collectively exhaled in relief upon hearing Jiang Yuan's words. Yet, for reasons unknown, a tinge of disappointment lingered in their hearts. Chapter 144. Your home is actually a royal mansion. Despite Gu Jiani's surprise at Jiang Yuan's generosity and magnanimity, she had witnessed him commanding the stage. speaking with a gravity that bordered on absurdity, yet the judges were evidently captivated by his words. In her heart, Jiang Yuan was a figure shrouded in mystery, perhaps possessing a significant background. Thus, his pronouncements and promises did not strike her as entirely unexpected. Gu Jiani was, however, astonished. This was an amount exceeding 4 million. The fact that he would simply offer to cover it was astounding. Did this dashing young man not fear that they might abscond with the money? His lavishness was striking, spending freely, handsome, and generous. He was indeed a veritable treasure of a young man. And now her sister and she were left with an immense debt of gratitude. How would they repay such a kindness? According to the unwritten rules of the world they inhabited, a benefactor who was unappealing would be repaid in the next life through servitude, while a handsome benefactor would receive devotion. No, what was she thinking? Why was her mind so cluttered with fanciful notions after meeting him? Gu Jiahua found herself lost in a whirlwind of thoughts, her mind momentarily overwhelmed. Jiang Yuan observed the sisters, noting their expressions of gratitude and surprise. It was evident that they regarded him as their benefactor, and he couldn't help but smile faintly. To him, 4 million was merely the cost of a few blind boxes. It hardly registered as significant. The thought of blind boxes stirred something within him. He hadn't indulged in a lucky draw for quite some time. The impulse to return to his source mansion for a delightful round of chance surged within him. Thus, Jiang Yuan took out his phone and promptly transferred the funds to Gu Jiani. Ding! As the 4 million arrived in her account, Gu Jiani's eyes sparkled with astonishment, fixating on Jiang Yuan as if she wished to see through to his very essence. To an onlooker, her gaze might have suggested an eagerness to consume him whole. Afterward, Jiang Yuan excused himself, stating he had matters to attend to. Hearing that he was departing, Gu Jiahua felt a twinge of disappointment. Will you be at the hospital tomorrow? She inquired. We feel a bit uneasy, and your presence would provide us with reassurance. Jiang Yuan pondered for a moment before acquiescing. Certainly. After all, my private chef and singer will need to reside in my home. Once the hospital matters are settled, you two can come stay with me. Gu Jiahua was momentarily taken aback, stammering you. What did you say? Live in your home? Her thoughts veered off course once more. Yes, what of it? Jiang Yuan replied, puzzled. You're my hired chef and singer, so naturally, you should reside in my household. However, Jiang Yuan's intelligence was not to be underestimated. He observed Gu Jiahua's expression for a moment and promptly deduced her thoughts. Jiang Yuan found himself both amused and exasperated as he explained, everyone has their own room. There is no need to share space with me. A sigh of relief escaped Gu Jiahua's lips, her face flushed with embarrassment. Yet, as she relaxed internally, a peculiar sense of melancholy crept in, one she was reluctant to acknowledge, striving to conceal her feelings. Gu Jiajing readily agreed, stating, all right, our family's former residence has been settled, so staying at your place is quite convenient. She then inquired, where is your home? It seems spacious enough if everyone can have their own room. Jiang Yuan replied, there is a Yuan Wang Fu in the city center. You can easily locate it using a map application. As soon as these words left his mouth, both Gu Jiajing and Gu Jiahua were taken aback, their faces reflecting sheer astonishment. What did you say? Could you repeat that? Where do you live? Yuan Wang Fu? Gu Jiahua's mind momentarily short-circuited, akin to a puppet whose strings had been severed. Gu Jiajing's eyes widened in disbelief, as if she had just received astounding news. The Yuan Wang Fu in the city center was one of the architectural landmarks of Xiamen. Almost every resident had gazed upon that magnificent structure from afar, and many had dreamt of living within its opulent walls. Yet, the notion of residing in such a grand edifice seemed utterly fantastical, as acquiring such a superstructure would require a fortune in the tens of billions. Recently, the sisters had remarked upon the sale of the estate, wistfully exclaiming, how wonderful it is to be wealthy enough to purchase a palace worth billions. Little did they expect that the person who had bought the estate was none other than the charming young man before them, Jiang Yuan. Jiang Yuan, noticing their stunned silence, inquired curiously, what's wrong? Gu Jiahua stammered, you're not joking with us, are you? Gu Jiajing swallowed hard, incredulity lacing her voice as she said, that's a palace. Worth an immense sum. Did you truly acquire it? Jiang Yuan shrugged. Why would I deceive you? You can move in tomorrow. The sisters still struggled to accept this revelation, their once bright eyes now dulled by shock. Meanwhile, Jiang Yuan felt a sense of urgency. He was eager to return home and participate in a lottery. The desire to engage in that venture was irresistible. I must take my leave. I'll be at the hospital tomorrow, Jiang Yuan stated before turning to depart, leaving the Gu sisters in a state of astonishment. They remained speechless for a considerable time until Gu Jiajing finally managed to utter, "This person is extraordinarily wealthy." Gu Jiahuan nodded in vigorous agreement. When he emerged, Yao Wenwen and Lu Shishir had already indulged in a delightful feast and were now awaiting Jiang Yuan. Jiang Yuan laughed heartily and proclaimed, "The matter has been resolved. From now on, you can relish such exquisite Western cuisine every day." Yao Wenwen's eyes sparkled with excitement as she replied, "The boss is impressive. Has he truly secured them all for us?" Chapter 145, The Lottery. Golden rewards abound. When Jiang Yuan and his companions returned to the Source King's mansion, they were somewhat fatigued after spending the day on horseback, which had taken a toll on their stamina. However, after indulging in a delectable meal at a Western restaurant, their spirits were notably lifted, marking a day that was both fulfilling and enjoyable. As Yao Wenwen and Lu Shishir entered their respective rooms, they promptly closed their eyes to rest. Jiang Yuan was no exception. He lay on his bed in a starfish position, yet his consciousness had already immersed itself in another realm. His accumulated points had been entirely exchanged for blind boxes, the sheer quantity of which was astonishing. They densely filled the sky, resembling layers of dark clouds stacked upon one another, a testament to their vast number. What rewards awaited him this time? Anticipation glimmered in Jiang Yuan's eyes. With a flick of his right hand, 10 blind boxes in the sky were instantly opened. Reward: 1 million yuan. Reward: 1 million yuan. Reward: 10 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 million yuan. The first reveal was a clear blue sky adorned with white clouds, which left Jiang Yuan feeling slightly disappointed. Yet, according to his understanding of the lottery's mystical nature, the initial appearance of blue skies might not be an ill omen. Often, the early manifestations were akin to accumulating luck, suggesting that when a true explosion of fortune arrived, it could bring about unimaginable surprises. However, as is often the case, life is rife with unexpected twists. Just as he contemplated validating his theory, the second series of 10 reveals erupted into a dazzling display of rainbow-colored flames. Jiang Yuan found himself at a loss, questioning whether this was fortunate or unfortunate. Without dwelling on it further, he promptly opened all the boxes from the second series. Reward: 1 million yuan. Reward: 1 million yuan. Reward: 1 million yuan. Reward: 1 million yuan. Reward: 10 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 million yuan. Critical reward: a golden sports car? Another vehicle? Jiang Yuan felt a flicker of curiosity. He harbored a question, since he had already acquired a Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost. Did that signify he had graduated from the realm of vehicle rewards? The Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost was already classified as an ultra-rare luxury car, and within Jiang Yuan's previous understanding, there were few vehicles that could rival its exclusivity. So what was the significance of this golden sports car? The absence of any luxury brand associated with it was indeed a rare occurrence. This was the first time he had encountered such a peculiar situation since he began his lottery endeavors. With a heart brimming with curiosity, Jiang Yuan began to scrutinize the details of this golden sports car. Item name: Golden Sports Car. Description: this vehicle is entirely crafted from pure gold, and driving it for 100 kilometers results in an average wear of 50 grams of gold. Estimated value: approximately 6 billion, making it unquestionably one of the most expensive cars in the world. Upon hearing this straightforward description, Jiang Yuan nearly succumbed to astonishment. Does one comprehend the current exorbitant price of gold? To think that merely driving this car could deplete such a significant amount of gold. What extravagance! This opulent style requires no branding to complement it. Its very existence serves as a testament to a life steeped in luxury. It is exceedingly lavish and ostentatious. Jiang Yuan's eyes sparkled with delight. To drive such a vehicle is no ordinary display of wealth. It verges on flamboyant ostentation. It is brazen, it is fashionable. A smile crept across Jiang Yuan's lips, for this unexpected revelation was indeed a pleasant surprise. He recalled a dessert he had once savored at the Ritz-Carlton in Nanjing, a golden sundae adorned with edible gold dust, epitomizing luxury. Yet now, just by taking a casual drive, the gold wear and tear from the car nearly equaled the cost of that lavish dessert. What other splendid treasures might await him? Jiang Yuan rubbed his hands together in anticipation and initiated another round of 10 consecutive draws. Reward: 1 million yuan. Reward: 1 million yuan. Reward: 1 million yuan. Reward: 1 million yuan. Reward: 1 million yuan, reward. 1 million yuan, reward. 1 million yuan, reward. 10 million yuan, reward. 10 million yuan, critical reward. A bottle of Leos Verres vodka collection. What sort of reward is this? Jiang Yuan paused in surprise. This was his first time drawing a fine spirit. Today was indeed exceptional. As he began to unearth rare rewards, he promptly examined the details of the bottle of vodka. Item name, Leos Verres vodka, also known as billionaire vodka. Description, the bottle is encrusted with approximately 3,000 diamonds, with a capacity of 5 liters. Estimated value, approximately 300 million. This, Jiang Yuan. How could anyone embed over 3,000 valuable diamonds into a vodka bottle? One could only imagine that a sip would be imbued with the fragrance of wealth itself. Jiang Yuan shook his head, as this revelation diverged somewhat from his expectations. He yearned for rewards that were even more exceptional and practical. Fortunately, there were still ample blind boxes available today. His opportunities were far from exhausted. Thus, he proceeded to draw once more, initiating another round of 10 consecutive draws. Reward, 1 million yuan, reward. 1 million yuan, reward. 1 million yuan, reward. 1 million yuan, reward. 10 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 million yuan, critical reward. A limited edition bottle of Isle of Arrow whiskey. Jiang Yuan. Why is it alcohol again? Item name, limited edition Isle of Arrow whiskey. Description, this exquisite bottle is crafted from pure crystal, adorned with 2 gold bars, 500 diamonds, and 300 rubies. Estimated value, approximately 1.2 billion yuan, arguably one of the most expensive liquors in the world. Jiang Yuan stroked his chin. It appears that even within golden rewards, the disparity between the upper and lower limits is quite substantial. Although the rewards may seem similar, they possess a hierarchical replacement relationship. The former merely boasts over 3,000 diamonds, while the latter is encrusted with a staggering 8,000, plus an additional 300 rubies. Such extravagance is indeed excessive. Chapter 146. Master Chen. As twilight gradually descended, a wave of weariness enveloped Jiang Yuan. The fatigue from a day spent riding had begun to weigh heavily upon him, coupled with the somewhat lackluster results from his recent 10 consecutive draws. His patience began to wane. Reward, 1 million yuan, reward. 1 million yuan, reward. 1 million yuan, reward. 1 million yuan, reward. 10 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 million yuan once again. The results revealed the same blue skies and white clouds. Jiang Yuan, however, paid little heed, considering it merely a matter of accumulating luck. As he drifted into a semi-conscious state, he continued to draw several more times. Reward, 1 million yuan, reward. 1 million yuan, reward. 10 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 million yuan, critical reward. 75 shares of Xinyang Media Company. Suddenly, a significant prize appeared, jolting Jiang Yuan awake. If this was the manner in which fortune was to be dealt, his drowsiness was swiftly dispelled. However, upon seeing this reward, he couldn't help but feel a twinge of surprise. Previously, he had drawn from Tianqi Media, a company renowned for nurturing vocal talent. The recently acclaimed quartet of young songstresses had all emerged from its ranks. In contrast, Xinyang Media excelled in the realm of film and television production, standing as one of the leading box office companies in the nation. It had cultivated numerous award-winning actors and actresses, making it one of the few firms capable of rivaling Tianqi Media. Not bad, Jiang Yuan mused, narrowing his eyes slightly. This was indeed a commendable reward, yet it fell short of the thrill he had anticipated deep within. After a few more rounds of uninspiring draws, his eyelids grew heavy, and yawns became increasingly frequent. Perhaps it was best to rest for the night and resume tomorrow. With a sigh of resignation, he decided on one final set of 10 draws, planning to save the remaining for the morrow. Reward, 1 million yuan, reward. 1 million yuan, reward. 1 million yuan, reward. 1 million yuan, reward. 10 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 million yuan, critical reward. 80 shares of Yuhing Konghai Company. Another company share reward materialized. Yet, Jiang Yuan was left puzzled. The name of this company was unfamiliar to him. Unlike media companies, which often became well known from a single film or television series, This company did not possess such widespread recognition. Many companies are only familiar to those who have previously worked within the relevant industry. I'll ask someone about this company tomorrow, Jiang Yuan thought to himself. He then closed his eyes and peacefully drifted into slumber. The following day, at the First People's Hospital of Xiqing City, Gu Jianing and Gu Jiehua were already waiting anxiously outside the ward. They had arranged to meet the esteemed medical expert, Master Chen, there. Master Chen, whose real name is Chen Kongheng, is celebrated worldwide for his significant contributions to the medical field. Initially, many refer to him privately as Master Chen, but over time, it became a common honorific. The Gu sisters felt a mix of anxiety and hope. Although it was said that Master Chen was a man of great integrity and had a past acquaintance with their father, they were still uncertain about the situation. This matter concerned the life of their biological father, heightening their tension. Would Master Chen have an unforeseen engagement? Would he request exorbitant medical fees from them? Their concerns were not unfounded. After all, one must be cautious in such weighty matters, especially considering the gravity of the situation. Fortunately, their worst fears did not materialize. Around 9 in the morning, a gentleman of refined demeanor and amiable disposition appeared. Clad in a white coat and wearing glasses, he approached the Gu sisters with a warm, affectionate gaze, much like that of a father looking at his own daughters. "You must be the daughters of Gu Changkai," Master Chen remarked with a smile. I had not seen Xiao Gu in many years, and I never expected he would face such an ordeal. I had warned him back then not to overexert himself, but he was preoccupied with work, ultimately leading to this illness manifesting years earlier than anticipated. Upon hearing this, the sisters felt a swell of emotion. Their childhood had been fraught with hardships. Their mother had passed away early, and their father had worked tirelessly to support them. They had not realized that their father's early onset of illness was a consequence of his relentless dedication. Master Chen reassured them, "Do not worry. Your father's condition is not without hope for recovery. I have made significant advancements in recent years. Please allow me to examine him." Gu Jianing and Gu Jiehua nodded eagerly and guided Master Chen into the ward. Once inside, Master Chen promptly utilized the hospital's medical equipment to conduct a thorough examination of their father. The results came swiftly. "The situation is not optimistic. It is more severe than I had anticipated," Master Chen stated with a serious expression. "We must proceed with surgery immediately. Delaying even an hour could diminish the chances of success." Upon hearing this, Gu Jiehua quickly replied, "Then we shall rely on you." Gu Jianing cautiously added, "But regarding the medical expenses, perhaps." Master Chen waved his hand dismissively, saying, "It's merely a matter of money. Given my relationship with Xiao Gu, there is no need to discuss this further. Let's focus on the surgery first." Upon hearing this, the Gu sisters were instantly filled with immense joy. Jiang Yuan also stood nearby, his face adorned with a smile. It appeared that matters were progressing quite smoothly. Indeed, Master Chen's character was as commendable as the rumor suggested. The Gu sisters delightedly thought to themselves that he was a good man. However, just as Master Chen was convening an urgent meeting to address surgical matters, a middle-aged man clad in a tailored suit and sporting gold-rimmed glasses approached briskly. "Greetings, Master Chen. I am Chen Changqing, the secretary from Tianjun Group." Upon hearing this introduction, Jiang Yuan's brow furrowed slightly. The name Tianjun Group seemed vaguely familiar. It had recently appeared on the wealth rankings of Xiamen City. As Chen Changqing leaned in to whisper a few words to Master Chen, he continued, "Our Tianjun Group urgently wishes to invite you to assist in the treatment of a patient." Master Chen's expression tightened, and he firmly replied, "No, I currently have a patient whom I must attend to first." Yet, Chen Changqing remained unfazed, asserting, "The identity of our patient is of utmost importance. I suggest you reconsider. Sometimes, relinquishing one opportunity can lead to a greater gain." Chapter 147. The Arrogance of Chen Changqing. "Who precisely is the patient you speak of?" A flicker of impatience danced in Master Chen's eyes. Young Gu's condition had deteriorated significantly, necessitating immediate surgical intervention. Even with his wealth of experience, the prospects for recovery appeared bleak. Every moment squandered diminished young Gu's chances of healing. This was a race against death. There was no time to waste. Yet, Chen Changqing grasped his hand firmly and articulated each word with intent. "Recently, our chairman has been plagued by frequent angina attacks. I have received orders to summon you to our residence without delay." The patient, astonishingly, was none other than the chairman of Tianjun Group, a formidable figure who wielded immense influence in Xiqing, ranking among the top 3 wealthiest magnates in the city. Had he been an ordinary doctor, the mere mention of such a name would likely have instilled trepidation. prompting immediate compliance with the request. However, Master Chen remained unfazed, diligently preparing his surgical attire and instruments. He cast a brief glance at Chen Chongqing and resolutely declared, "I am a physician. My sacred duty is to save lives. In my eyes, all patients are equal, regardless of their status. No matter who your patient may be, they must wait their turn." His words were steeped in righteousness, brimming with medical ethics. Even the nurses and doctors assisting in the preparation paused, regarding him with newfound respect. Simultaneously, they could not suppress their disdain for Chen Chongqing. Hadn't the chairman visited the hospital just days prior for a minor ailment? Merely aging and experiencing some angina, it was hardly a grave concern. The wealthy elite often exhibited a profound fear of mortality. The slightest discomfort prompted them to create a commotion. Here stood a critically ill patient on one side, and on the other, a mere individual suffering from occasional chest pains. Yet he had the audacity to advocate for the latter's priority in treatment. How shameless! Master Chen's refusal to bow to power or wealth showcased his admirable medical integrity. The hushed conversations among the nurses and doctors were not sufficiently muted. Most of their voices clearly reached Chen Chongqing's ears. Nevertheless, he maintained his composure, revealing an extraordinary calm and resolve. "Master Chen," he said steadily, as the chairman's secretary, "my duty is to resolve issues for him. Please understand my predicament and cooperate with my efforts." As he spoke, he produced a folder from his bag, filled with professional documentation concerning the chairman's cardiac CT scans, pulse, and respiratory graphs. Master Chen glanced at the contents and immediately furrowed his brow. "Your chairman's condition is not critical. I will attend to this surgery first." In truth, he was well aware of the reality. These affluent individuals often masqueraded their fear of death as a love for life. Yet their overwhelming dread was palpable. While it is natural to fear death, it was entirely unreasonable for them to demand that a doctor, engaged in the urgent treatment of a severely ill patient, be diverted to stand by for their own trivial concerns. Isn't this a waste of medical resources? Such a situation is utterly absurd. Yet, in the eyes of some individuals, it appears rather reasonable. To a doctor, patients are devoid of distinctions in status or worth. However, to certain onlookers, life can be measured in monetary terms. Chen Chongqing coldly stated, "Master Chen, should you acquiesce to our request, we are prepared to offer you a remuneration of 10 million. 10 million. Upon hearing this, the Gu sisters turned pale, their faces drained of color. Such a sum of money is a temptation few can resist. Fortunately, Master Chen is not an ordinary individual. He refrained from casting another glance at Chen Chongqing and remained silent, focusing intently on the final preparations for the surgery. Chen Chongqing raised his voice, 20 million. Yet Master Chen remained unmoved. 30 million. Ultimately, Master Chen coldly retorted, "Integrity cannot be purchased with wealth." He then turned and entered the operating room with a group of individuals. However, Chen Chongqing was far from ready to concede. Seeing Master Chen enter the surgery, he attempted to force his way inside. His intent was clear. He meant to interrupt the operation and take Master Chen away. Faced with such arrogance and rudeness, the Gu sisters immediately sought to intervene. Jiang Yuan, swift as the wind, calmly extended his right foot, perfectly positioning it beneath Chen Chongqing's. With a swift motion, Chen Chongqing, in his haste to enter the operating room, failed to notice the obstacle and stumbled, falling hard to the ground, making intimate contact with the floor. He took a heavy fall, dust and dirt staining his face, rendering him both disheveled and comical. Despite the humiliation, Chen Chongqing did not express anger or lose his composure. As the secretary to the chairman of Tianjun, he was determined to maintain his elegance and poise in any circumstance. Rising to his feet, he nonchalantly glanced at the Gu sisters and spoke, "I truly empathize with your feelings. I understand your father is currently in dire straits, facing a perilous situation. Your concern and fear are palpable, and naturally, you wish for Master Chen to assist him. I completely understand. If it were my father in such a condition, I would feel equally anxious. However, have you considered that this surgery carries a risk of failure, and not an insignificant one? Even if fortune smiles upon you and a miracle occurs, what would it matter if you provoke the wrong individuals? What significance would a successful treatment hold under such circumstances?" His words, delivered in a calm and steady tone, concealed a sharpness and foreboding chill. To the Gu sisters, his remarks sent shivers down their spines. The thought of Tianjun Group's formidable methods and overwhelming power left them feeling somewhat intimidated. Yet, thinking of their father's peril, Gu Jiahua suppressed her fear and retorted, "Your chairman's situation is not grave. While our father, is in critical condition. Master Chun is but one man. Why can't you wait? Gu Jiahua, being younger, believed that reason and negotiation could resolve everything. However, Gu Jianing, being a few years older, exhibited a more mature demeanor, understanding that sometimes reason cannot be applied. Indeed, upon hearing Gu Jiahua's words, Chen Changqing immediately responded, "Why can't we just wait a moment?" This statement should actually be a retort directed at you. It is essential to recognize that our chairman is the cornerstone for over 100,000 employees in our group. If anything were to happen to him, the livelihoods of countless individuals would be jeopardized, while your father is merely an ordinary cook. Would it not be more appropriate to prioritize the life of our chairman, whose well-being is of greater significance? His words resonated with a sense of righteousness, as if he were a mentor wielding the truth. In reality, however, it was nothing more than a display of sophistry and eloquence. Upon hearing this, Jiang Yuan scoffed derisively. Chapter 148. Jiang Yuan must not be provoked. Gu Jiahui's complexion turned pale as she trembled and asked, "What do you intend to do?" Chen Changqing brushed off the dust from his clothes and replied, "Immediately cease the surgery and allow me to take Master Chen. Once our chairman's condition improves, Master Chen will naturally treat you." Upon hearing this, Gu Jianing furiously retorted, "This is intolerable. We shall summon the hospital security, and they will certainly expel you." Gu Jiahui firmly positioned herself in front of the operating room, resolutely preventing Chen Changqing from passing through. Chen Changqing, however, appeared unperturbed, clutching his abdomen as he laughed heartily, saying, "Security? Do you truly believe that the few guards in this small hospital would dare to touch me, the secretary of Tianjin Group?" He cast a casual glance at Jiang Yuan, warning, "I advise you all, each one will pay a price for their actions today." His words were clearly aimed at Jiang Yuan, recalling how he had tripped him earlier. Yet, his focus remained on executing his task, taking Master Chen away, without engaging further with Jiang Yuan. There would be ample opportunity for retribution later. Suddenly, Jiang Yuan, who had remained silent until now, spoke up. "You are Chen Changqing, correct?" Jiang Yuan said with a faint smile. "Earlier, you mentioned that even if today's surgery is successful and the patient is saved, offending the wrong person could lead to a fate worse than death. Is that the essence of your statement?" Chen Changqing nodded, asserting, "I merely articulated the truth and the potential consequences you may face, urging you to evaluate your choices wisely." It was a gesture of goodwill. Goodwill? For reasons unknown, the Gu sisters found the term absurd coming from him. Jiang Yuan continued, "Goodwill? I perceive it as a venomous intent. You would forcibly take away a physician who saves lives, while your chairman seeks only peace of mind, and he is in no grave danger. If something were to happen today, would it not equate to your own hand in his demise? How malicious." Chen Changqing's expression remained unchanged as he retorted, sharp-tongued, "Yet all you do is flaunt your verbal prowess. I shall warn you once more. If you do not stand aside, you will face consequences beyond your capacity to bear." At this juncture, it was evident that he had exhausted his patience. The Gu sisters, in turn, had entirely lost faith in this person's character. Jiang Yuan began to lay his cards on the table. He gazed directly at Chen Changqing and said with a smile, "Have you considered that if you were to take Master Chen today and fulfill your chairman's task, you might consequently offend someone you ought not to? Do you truly believe it is worth it?" Chen Changqing, upon hearing this, looked at Jiang Yuan as if he were a fool. "Who is this person you speak of?" "You?" Chen Changqing's eyes reflected disdain. Calmly, Jiang Yuan replied, "It is I, Jiang Yuan." Chen Changqing let out a long sigh and said, "I have extended opportunities to you, yet my patience has worn thin. You shall all bear the consequences of today's events." With that, he fell silent, withdrawing his phone to begin contacting others. He intended to leverage the influence and connections of the Tianjin Group to take decisive action. Within the Tianjin Group, Chairman Zhuo Tianheng took a delicate sip of tea, his complexion rosy and his spirits high. However, the memory of the sudden angina he experienced a few days prior still lingered with him, evoking a sense of trepidation. That sensation felt akin to a close encounter with death, far too terrifying. Despite his immense wealth and his prominent position among the elite of Xiamen, he relished life's comforts. Thus, he found himself deeply enamored with the splendors of this world. "Where is Master Chen? I was informed he is a leading expert in cardiology and should be able to cure my ailment." Zhuo Tianheng frowned. The senior executives of the Tianjin Group, overhearing his remarks, immediately felt a wave of trepidation, their hearts pounding. Zhuo Tianheng was known for his capricious temperament and explosive rage. A mere dissatisfaction could result in an outburst. At that moment, a phone call came in. Upon checking, he saw it was his secretary, Chen Chongqing. On the line, Chen Chongqing embellished the situation, distorting the facts. Chairman, I have done my utmost, but this Master Chen is ungrateful. He insists on attending to another patient before he will see you. Is this not a blatant disregard for your status? I have investigated, and the other patient's condition is trivial at best, mere minor ailments. Yet Master Chen is dawdling in his treatment. Furthermore, the family of that patient was exceedingly rude. Despite my insistence that our chairman was hospitalized due to severe angina and urgently required Master Chen's care, they dismissed me and even resorted to violence, declaring it was none of their concern and telling me to leave. It must be said that Chen Chongqing, while appearing amiable, possessed an extraordinary talent for stirring discord and scheming. Otherwise, he would not have attained the position of executive secretary at such a young age. As Chairman Zhuo Tianheng listened, his expression darkened. Which family dares to act so recklessly, courting disaster? Upon sensing her chairman's rising anger, Chen Chongqing felt a surge of satisfaction. Zhuo Tianheng was notoriously volatile. Once enraged, he was as unyielding as a bull. This promised to be an entertaining spectacle. With a clever glint in her eye, Chen Chongqing added, "Moreover, there is someone who claims that our Tianjun group would not dare to offend him, asserting that our chairman would have to show him deference. He insisted that I promptly bow and apologize to him." Chairman Zhuo Tianheng, upon hearing this, erupted in fury. Who is so audacious? His name is Jiang Yuan, Chen Chongqing announced, relishing the moment as a sense of exhilaration coursed through her. Moments ago, he was tripped by Jiang Yuan and, while outwardly maintaining an air of nonchalance, he was seething with fury beneath the surface. Moreover, Jiang Yuan audaciously dared to utter such reckless words. Thus, it became imperative for him to embellish the matter and ensure that this young man was thoroughly subdued. However, as soon as Chen Chongqing uttered Jiang Yuan's name, the situation took an unexpected turn. On the other end of the line, the chairman appeared to be enveloped in a profound silence, uttering not a single word. What could be the reason for this? After a brief pause, Chen Chongqing hurriedly inquired, "Chairman, you aren't experiencing angina again, are you?" Zhuo Tianheng responded, "Please repeat that. Who is this person? Is he truly named Jiang Yuan?" In truth, Zhuo Tianheng's heart was indeed experiencing some discomfort, not from angina, but rather from the unsettling realization that his secretary might have offended someone named Jiang Yuan. After a moment of silence, Zhuo Tianheng finally spoke. "Do not carelessly provoke anyone named Jiang Yuan. Allow me to investigate whether this individual is indeed the Jiang Yuan in question or merely a namesake." Chapter 149. Namesake. At this moment, Zhuo Tianheng wore an expression of grave concern. He had not anticipated that merely requesting his secretary to invite the esteemed medical expert, Master Chen, would inadvertently lead to significant friction with certain individuals. Moreover, the matter was tied to a mysterious figure named Jiang Yuan, escalating the severity of the situation. Recently, the wealth rankings in Xiaqing had undergone a tumultuous upheaval, with the once flourishing Yi Group suffering a catastrophic plummet in its stock value. As the chairman of Tianjun Group, he was, of course, among the first to grasp the overarching circumstances. Not long ago, he had received alarming news. The Yi Group faced a shocking turmoil, with its market assets diminishing tenfold. The mastermind behind this turmoil was a young man named Jiang Yuan. This individual possessed astonishing capabilities, employing methods that bordered on the miraculous to obtain numerous confidential data from the Yi Group. Behind him, it seemed, lay a formidable team of experts with exceptional technical prowess. Furthermore, this information spread with lightning speed, enabling him to manipulate the foremost law firm in Xiaqing to confront the Yi Group in court. Rumors circulated that Jiang Yuan was audacious and domineering, to the extent that even the directors of the Yi Group sought him out for negotiations, hoping to quell the unrest. However, he demanded a show of subservience before he would agree to any reconciliation. If all these reports were indeed accurate, it would signify that this young man, Jiang Yuan, not only commanded a powerful team of experts, but also wielded significant influence over Xiaqing's premier law firm. His extraordinary intellect and strategic acumen allowed him to orchestrate events with remarkable foresight. Such a figure, endowed with such formidable attributes, undoubtedly epitomized the archetype of a formidable hero. Zhuo Tianheng spoke earnestly, "My heart is currently stable, and there is no urgent need for Master Chen's medical expertise at this moment. However, this Jiang Yuan may very well be the shadowy figure responsible for the recent upheavals concerning the Yi Group. Please refrain from provoking any further incidents." Upon hearing this, Chen Chongqing's expression grew somewhat rigid. The gravity of Zhuo's voice resonated with an absurdity that was hard to comprehend. The recent events in Xiaoqing had already stirred a tempest of speculation, and he was well aware of the situation. The heir apparent of the Yi Group had been invited to participate in a wealth-focused interview program, which was initially a splendid occasion meant to bring honor to the family. Yet, someone had unleashed a thunderous strike, causing the Yi Group's stock prices to plummet live before an online audience, transforming the event into a farcical spectacle, a joke exclusive to the Yi family. Moreover, whispers of confidential sources suggested that the orchestrator behind this chaos was none other than a man named Jiang Yuan. But could this Jiang Yuan be the very same individual? The name Jiang Yuan was exceedingly common and ubiquitous. One might casually toss a brick from a bridge and likely hit 3 or 4 individuals bearing that name. Perhaps this was merely a coincidence, a case of coincidental nomenclature. Chen Chongqing scrutinized the youthful visage of Jiang Yuan, shaking his head inwardly. This young lad appeared to be in his early 20s, merely a callow youth. Could he truly be the catalyst of such widespread turmoil? Whatever I say, it is met with disbelief. It's simply fanciful. The wealth and power of the Yi family conglomerate, although not comparable to that of our Tianjin Group, has nonetheless established itself as a considerable entity in Xiqing. Yi Qianfan, a director of the Yi family, is a formidable figure from the same era as our chairman. How could he possibly bow down to this insolent young man in his 20s? It must merely be a case of sharing the same name. This young man is indeed fortunate. Merely due to his name being identical to that of the influential Jiang Yuan, he has managed to evade a disaster. He should be burning incense in gratitude to his ancestors. Chen Chongqing's expression was grim. He had already issued a bold proclamation, asserting that all 3 of them would bear the consequences. Yet, he soon received an order from the chairman forbidding him from escalating the situation. Such a directive from the highest level left him with little choice but to seek a peaceful resolution. The sole reason for all this turmoil was merely that this young man happened to share the name Jiang Yuan in the ears of the high-ranking officials in Xiqing. The name Jiang Yuan had become akin to a spell, a name they preferred to avoid, even if it meant merely a false alarm, rather than risk provoking trouble. Alas, the chairman's approach is excessively cautious. After all, it is just a person who shares the name Jiang Yuan. Yet, he insists that I refrain from stirring up any trouble. Chen Chongqing felt a deep sense of frustration. He understood that the chairman's character was marked by extreme prudence. Even the slightest possibility of danger would prompt him to eliminate it outright. As his secretary, he could not go against his wishes. Taking a deep breath to quell his anger, he returned to the presence of Jiang Yuan and the Gu sisters, stating coolly, "You are fortunate." He fixed a penetrating gaze on Jiang Yuan and added, "Especially you. Your luck is truly remarkable. I have some matters to attend to, so I shall not accompany you further. Take care of yourselves." With that, he intended to turn and temporarily depart, waiting for the conclusion of the procedure to escort Master Chen. The Gu sisters, witnessing the departure of this malevolent figure, erupted into cheers. The reputation of Tianjin Group far surpassed that of the Yi family conglomerate. In this vast Xiqing, it undoubtedly belonged to the upper echelons of power. For the Gu sisters, who hailed from ordinary backgrounds, their limited glimpses of such formidable strength through television and newspapers were enough to instill a sense of trepidation, making them feel as if they were walking on thin ice. The disparity between such power and their ordinary existence was akin to that of ants compared to elephants. Moreover, Gu Jiehua and Gu Jianing harbored a subtle worry regarding Jiang Yuan. While Jiang Yuan had acquired some wealth, even purchasing a royal mansion as a lavish residence, such opulence was merely relative to ordinary individuals. In the face of the colossal Tianjin Group, this wealth was hardly significant. Once Jiang Yuan offended such a colossal figure for their sake, they would indeed feel an overwhelming sense of guilt and unease. Though the current circumstances remained unclear, Chen Chongqing's willingness to seek a peaceful resolution was most agreeable to them. Gu Jiehua grasped her sister's hand, exhaling in relief. How wonderful. Fortunately, it seems that individual had an urgent matter to attend to. Otherwise, we truly would not have known how to proceed. Gu Jianing, equally shaken, placed her hand on her chest, experiencing a sensation akin to surviving a near calamity. The feeling of having one's throat constricted by another was undeniably distressing. Alas, how could we possibly contend with such a person, given that they are backed by the Tianjin Group? Gu Jianing mused with self-deprecation. Nevertheless, it was a blessing that they did not take Master Chen away. The timely execution of her father's surgery was indeed a stroke of good fortune. Just when everyone assumed the matter was temporarily resolved, Jiang Yuan raised an eyebrow and addressed Chen Chongqing's retreating figure. Thinking of leaving? Did you obtain my permission? You cannot simply come and go as you please. Chapter 150. The astonished Chen Chongqing. Jiang Yuan's voice resonated boldly, striking the ears of all present with unrestrained audacity. Everyone clearly comprehended his words. Chen Chongqing's departing figure trembled, almost unable to believe his own ears. He had prepared to heed the chairman's words and sought to pacify the situation. Yet this audacious young man dared to overstep his bounds. You may be in your first year, but you truly presume to act as if you are in your 15th. Merely fortunate to share a name with a prominent figure. This brash young man, barely in his 20s, possessed no real prowess, only the audacity of his ignorance, provoking him repeatedly. Bold and reckless, utterly ignorant. Chen Chongqing turned, fixing his gaze upon Jiang Yuan's face as if intending to extract his very eyes. Repeat what you just said. The Gu sisters gasped in unison, cold sweat trickling down their spines. The matter seemed to have reached a temporary conclusion, yet unexpectedly, Jiang Yuan remained obstinately proud, unwilling to let it end here. Chen Chongqing was already halfway out the door, but Jiang Yuan audaciously chose to provoke him. It was as if a snake, poised to spare a rabbit, had been kicked by the very creature it intended to let go. This was an egregious overstep. Had others witnessed Jiang Yuan's behavior, they would have likely distanced themselves, fearful of any association. Yet the Gu sisters approached him anxiously, one on each side, instinctively tugging at his sleeve. The events of the day had originated from their actions, and it was their persistent invitations that had brought Jiang Yuan here. If their presence led to his troubles, their conscience would be deeply troubled. Jiang Yuan, let it go. We're no match for him. He is backed by a powerful consortium. We cannot contend with him. Gu Jianing said, her worry palpable. Gu Jiahuan, equally distressed, clutched Jiang Yuan's arm, whispering, Brother Jiang Yuan, please don't act impulsively. He is the secretary of Tianjun Group's board, a significant figure beside the chairman. We must not provoke him. Hearing the concerned words of the Gu sisters, a warm current flowed through Jiang Yuan's heart. True loyalty reveals itself in times of adversity. Faced with a prominent figure from Tianjun Group, if they were women of superficiality, they would have distanced themselves from him. Yet, these sisters remained by his side, eager to dissuade him from folly. Their stance was clear. They wished to share both blessings and burdens. There was an undeniable spirit of camaraderie in their resolve. At that moment, Jiang Yuan was genuinely pleased with the character and integrity of the sisters. After all, they were individuals he wished to bring into his life. Any flaw in character could complicate relationships and potentially lead to future troubles. Indeed, he mused with satisfaction. Rest assured, I'll be perfectly fine, and you shall face no repercussions either. Subsequently, he extended both hands, gently caressing the heads of the Gu sisters, one on the left and one on the right. The head pat was delightful, an exquisite pleasure, a double dose of comfort. Both Gu Jianing and Gu Jiahuan felt their cheeks flush, displaying a trace of shyness. However, Jiang Yuan's hands were broad and tender. Being patted on the head by him was truly an exceptional delight. For reasons unknown, even in the face of impending danger, the Gu sisters felt an extraordinary sense of security at that moment. Meanwhile, Chen Chongqing was nearly on the verge of exploding with fury. How could a mere boy in his 20s continuously provoke her? Where was her dignity to be found? She had already lowered herself to confront him. Yet, Jiang Yuan completely disregarded her, turning instead to flirt with the sisters and indulging in this head-patting. And not just one, but two. It was simply outrageous. He showed no regard for her whatsoever. Jiang Yuan, do you believe that I... Chen Chongqing was about to unleash a torrent of curses. But before she could utter a word, a loud voice resonated behind her. I have long heard of the esteemed Jiang Yuan. Today, upon meeting you, I must say, your brilliance is resplendent. It is indeed a stroke of fortune to encounter you, young friend. Upon hearing these words, Chen Chongqing felt as though struck by lightning, her entire body trembling in disbelief. She turned her head to see none other than her chairman, Zhuang Tianheng, who had served as her superior for many years, now approaching Jiang Yuan with a broad smile. Behind Zhuang Tianheng followed several high-ranking officials from Tianjun Group, their arms crossed and remaining silent, clearly too intimidated to engage Jiang Yuan in conversation. The sudden turn of events left Chen Chongqing utterly astonished. Chairman, what brings you here so unexpectedly? She exclaimed. Just moments ago, she had notified him of the situation over a phone call, and yet here he was personally present. Chairman, you must be mistaken. This Jiang Yuan is merely in his early 20s. She stammered in shock. Upon hearing this, Zhuang Tianheng cast a cold glance at Qin Changqing and retorted, I am conversing with young friend Jiang Yuan. Do you think this is a matter for you to comment on? Be silent at once. Taken aback by the sudden reprimand, Qin Changqing struggled to comprehend the situation, her mind still reeling. Meanwhile, Zhuang Tianheng felt a deep unease within himself. Ever since receiving that phone call, an inexplicable sense of dread had settled in his heart, intensifying with each passing moment. It was truly terrifying, as if a drum were pounding within him, signaling that something significant was unfolding, yet he remained oblivious to its nature. Contemplating the matter, Zhuang Tianheng concluded that the issue lay within that very phone call. He promptly gathered his team and headed to the first hospital of Xiqing. To be cautious, he brought along someone who was familiar with Jiang Yuan's appearance, a witness to the confrontation between Jiang Yuan and the Yi family at the racetrack. Upon arrival, Zhuang Tianheng immediately instructed this individual to verify Jiang Yuan's identity. As expected, the individual offended by his secretary turned out to be none other than Jiang Yuan himself. This development certainly escalated matters significantly. Upon confirming Jiang Yuan's identity, Zhuang Tianheng immediately stepped forward. Meanwhile, Qin Changqing remained oblivious to the gravity of the situation, inciting a surge of uncontainable anger within Zhuang Tianheng. With a resounding slap, he struck Qin Changqing across the face. Apologize at once to our esteemed friend, Jiang Yuan. Chapter 151. A request for help. A sudden slap resounded through the air, landing squarely on Qin Changqing's face, leaving it instantly swollen and red. Zhuang Tianheng's eyes were slightly lowered, his face shrouded in shadows, obscuring his expression. However, the fierce aura emanating from him revealed his profound dissatisfaction with Qin Changqing's actions. The sharp sound of the slap echoed in the corridor, drawing the attention of numerous onlookers. A middle-aged man appeared vaguely familiar. I seem to have seen his photograph in a financial magazine. He was the chairman of Tianjun Group. What brought him to the hospital? A medical visit? Rumor had it that he had recently suffered from angina due to a legal battle. Yet here he was in person. But why did he strike someone? That individual appeared to be his secretary. As the crisp sound of the slap lingered, Qin Changqing felt an intense heat radiating from his face, leaving him momentarily dazed. The stinging pain was excruciating, yet the true shock and sorrow stemmed from the fact that this was the first time Zhuang Tianheng had struck him. After faithfully serving Zhuang Tianheng for many years, enduring hardships, and contributing significantly, he had always been treated with leniency, even when mistakes were made. Yet today, the situation was drastically different. Zhuang Tianheng had slapped him without hesitation over a trivial conflict involving Jiang Yuan. This was utterly astonishing. Chairman, have you misunderstood? Qin Changqing thought, unwilling to accept this treatment. Jiang Yuan was merely in his early 20s. How could he possibly be the one to disrupt the Yi family and threaten their foundation? Zhuang Tianheng coldly replied, Qin Changqing, what do you know about Jiang Yuan's matters? You should remain silent, otherwise. Do not blame me for dismissing you and ensuring we never cross paths again. His words were laced with a chilling seriousness. A wave of cold washed over Qin Changqing. Having followed Zhuang Tianheng for years, he was well aware of his temperament. The gravity of Zhuang Tianheng's words indicated their authenticity. The chairman was indeed reprimanding him in such a manner. Could it be that Jiang Yuan truly posed a threat to the formidable Yi family? Qin Changqing was left in a state of shock. The sisters from the Gu family also reacted with astonishment, their eyes wide with disbelief as they turned to Jiang Yuan. They were well aware of the recent significant events unfolding in Xiqing, including the public embarrassment suffered by the young heir of the Yi family during a live broadcast. The stock price of the Yi family has plummeted, as if ensnared by an unseen hand lurking in the shadows. Rumors circulate that this calamity stems from the Yi family's eldest son having offended a figure of formidable power. Yet, based on the dialogue between Qin Changqing and Zhuang Tianheng, it appears that Jiang Yuan is suspected to be the mastermind behind this upheaval. This is undeniably exhilarating. Gu Jianing exclaimed in astonishment, Jiang Yuan? Is he the one who has turned the Yi family upside down? The Yi family, notorious for their misdeeds, had long drawn the ire of the populace in Xiqing. Consequently, the misfortune befalling the Yi family is met with quiet satisfaction by ordinary citizens like Gu Jianing. Little did they know that the hero was right among them. Gu Jiahua's eyes sparkled with admiration as she gazed at Jiang Yuan. The Yi family's tyranny, often leveraging their monopolistic power, not only exploited employees, but also caused rampant inflation in prices. With Jiang Yuan's actions, the Yi family has been significantly weakened, representing a tremendous service to the people. The sisters' perception of Jiang Yuan was instantly elevated, his status in their eyes rising as if with the tide. Surrounding onlookers regarded Jiang Yuan with a mix of astonishment and admiration. Could it be that this young man was the one to bring down the Yi family? They deserved it. After all, for monopolizing so many industries and forcing us to work overtime while inflating prices. Who was this young man? Capable of causing such distress to the Yi family? He must be someone of considerable influence, possibly an heir from a prominent family in another first-tier city. It seems likely that he possesses significant backing, as it is improbable for someone so young to achieve such remarkable feats. As the crowd's enthusiasm grew, many were eager to engage Jiang Yuan in conversation, for the Yi family had become a malignant presence in Xiqing, and Jiang Yuan's courageous actions had delivered a harsh reprimand to them. This inspired many to desire an acquaintance with him and express their gratitude. However, Zhuo Tianheng furrowed his brow, thinking, I have matters to discuss with him. There is no room for you all to befriend Jiang Yuan. He turned to Jiang Yuan, displaying a friendly and cordial demeanor. Young friend Jiang, I have learned that you have only recently arrived in Xiqing. Allow me to extend a warm welcome on your behalf. Zhuo Tianheng proposed with a smile. Simultaneously, he pointed an accusatory finger at Chen Chongqing, saying, my subordinate has acted rudely. It is indeed inexcusable, and I will ensure he offers you a proper apology. Upon hearing this, Jiang Yuan cast a knowing glance at the elder Zhuo. Based on his recent dealings with the affluent, it seemed that Zhuo Tianheng harbored ulterior motives in seeking his acquaintance. There was a mix of concern and expectation etched upon his brow, as if he had a request for Jiang Yuan. Nevertheless, Jiang Yuan did not acquiesce immediately. Perhaps another day. Today is an important occasion for my two subordinates, he replied nonchalantly. Upon hearing the phrase another day, Zhuo Tianheng's heart immediately grasped the underlying message. If Jiang Yuan truly intended to set aside past grievances or foster a friendship, he would naturally propose a definitive time for their meeting. This notion of another day evidently signified dissatisfaction with Zhuo's handling of Chen Chongqing's matter. Being a figure of considerable acumen, Zhuo promptly discerned Jiang's sentiments. He bowed his head respectfully before Jiang Yuan and uttered a few words. Young friend Jiang, rest assured that I shall provide you with a satisfactory resolution regarding Chen Chongqing's situation. However, if it pleases you, I would greatly appreciate your presence at my estate tomorrow for a discussion. It would be ideal if you could bring along members of your esteemed law firm, as I have urgent matters to request. Upon hearing this, Jiang Yuan's mind sparked with a subtle thought. It became apparent that Zhuo sought his assistance, specifically from his law firm, Carlo Associates. This indicated that the old gentleman had encountered significant trouble of no small consequence. His predicament must be quite dire. Jiang Yuan contemplated the possibility of leveraging this opportunity to negotiate a more advantageous position for himself, considering the stakes involved. Chapter 152. Inspection of the law firm. Jiang Yuan was not inherently a devil. Under normal circumstances, he would not have gone out of his way to trouble Zhuo Tianheng. However, given that Zhuo Tianheng's secretary was so arrogant and had been repeatedly disrespectful, Jiang Yuan felt justified in his actions. As the saying goes, when the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. Jiang Yuan had begun to suspect that the character of the old man, Zhuo, was not as amiable as it appeared. His demeanor had merely softened in his pursuit of Jiang Yuan's assistance. Well, if I have nothing on my agenda tomorrow afternoon, I might reach out to you, Jiang Yuan remarked coolly. Upon hearing this, Zhuo Tianheng was immediately overjoyed. He produced a personal, treasured business card from his chest, inscribed with his private contact information, and solemnly presented it to Jiang Yuan. After accepting the card, Jiang Yuan squinted slightly, admiring its elegance. What a splendid card. I must acquire a set for myself. He mused. The card was adorned with numerous scattered diamonds, exuding opulence and grandeur. Zhuo Tianheng, astutely perceptive, immediately replied with a smile. It seems my young friend Jiang Yuan is interested in such cards. Fear not. If you honor me with your presence at my residence tomorrow, I shall ensure that a set of exquisite cards crafted with the finest diamonds is tailored to your specifications. Jiang Yuan politely smiled. If fate permits, that will be most delightful. Witnessing his employer's courteous demeanor towards Jiang Yuan, Chen Chongqing felt a twinge of panic. He yearned to rush forward to apologize or say something, but unfortunately, he had been restrained by several well-dressed subordinates. Zhuo Tianheng cast a cold glance at him before leading him away. Tomorrow, should Jiang Yuan choose to visit his estate, the resolution regarding Chen Chongqing would undoubtedly be to Jiang Yuan's satisfaction. Thus, an unexpected surprise awaited Chen Chongqing. Not long after Zhuo Tianheng and his entourage departed, the door to the operating room swung open. Master Chen emerged, looking rather fatigued. The Goose sisters immediately followed him, their anxiety palpable. Thankfully, Master Chen removed his mask and smiled reassuringly. Do not worry. Your father has surpassed the critical phase. With a few more days of rest, we'll be fine. Overcome with emotion, Gu Jiahua and Gu Jianing burst into tears of joy, instinctively throwing themselves into Jiang Yuan's embrace, relieved to have their father safe. Jiang Yuan, bemused, could only stroke their heads gently, offering quiet solace. After approximately half an hour, the Goose sisters, their faces flushed, disentangled themselves from Jiang Yuan's arms. I apologize, we were a bit overwhelmed, Gu Jianing said shyly. Sorry, we were just too excited since our father has just come out of danger, Gu Jiahua added, feeling embarrassed. Jiang Yuan waved his hand with a smile. It is completely understandable. The two sisters remained steadfastly by their father's bedside, awaiting his awakening and providing care. Fortunately, Gu Cheng awakened not long after, clearly indicating that the surgery had been a resounding success. Jiang Yuan nodded in satisfaction. Subsequently, he called Yao Wenwen to inform her to come and pick them up in the evening. Following this incident, the Gu sisters officially became part of his entourage. They were a striking pair of sisters. One was an exceptional cook, and the other had a melodious voice. The trip to Xiamen had certainly not been in vain. Jiang Yuan temporarily arranged for them to stay at Yuan Wangfu, planning to return to Nanxing with him after some time. He then called his secretary at Carlo law firm, Xiao Zhang, also known as Zhang Yuning. In Jiang Yuan's absence, she had been tasked with managing several routine matters. At that moment, she was quite overwhelmed and absorbed in her duties. However, a call from Jiang Yuan was of particular significance. She had set aside a dedicated phone specifically to receive his calls, ensuring that no instructions were missed. Upon answering, Jiang Yuan's warm voice resonated through the line. Xiao Zhang, please make arrangements for me. I intend to visit Carlo law firm. Jiang Yuan's intention was straightforward. If he were to visit Zhuo Tianhong's residence, it would be prudent to bring along some associates. After all, if the matter at hand was related to his law firm, it would be wise to include some professionals. Furthermore, he had yet to conduct an official inspection of the firm after receiving its accolades. Curiosity about his subordinates lingered in his mind. Upon hearing this, Xiao Zhang promptly replied, Understood. We should make the necessary arrangements for you. With that, she swiftly set aside all her tasks, informed the relevant personnel, and grabbed the car keys to prepare for Jiang Yuan's arrival. Xiao Zhang's efficiency was commendable. Within a mere 10 minutes of waiting in the hospital, she arrived at the location. Jiang Yuan took his seat in the passenger side of the car. Xiao Zhang, regarding our law firm, he began, gazing out at the scenery through the window while engaging in casual conversation with the secretary. Could you introduce me to the more capable lawyers? It would be preferable if they were also aesthetically pleasing and possessed commendable physiques. Oh, if their professional abilities are exceptional, the last criterion may be overlooked. Xiao Zhang's cheeks flushed slightly upon hearing this. Director Jiang, this is rather unorthodox. Are you approaching this as a matchmaking endeavor, seeking attractiveness alongside capability? Naturally, she dismissed the latter remark as inconsequential. Our Carlo law firm is recognized as the premier law firm in Xiamen, boasting an abundance of elite professionals. Whether in the realm of property disputes, traffic accident liability cases, or Xiao Zhang began to elaborate. However, Jiang Yuan, growing impatient, interrupted, Spare me the pleasantries. Time is of the essence. Please provide me with the names of the most competent individuals, along with brief introductions. Upon hearing this, Zhang Yuning adjusted her demeanor and spoke. Our law firm has a lawyer named Ouyang Ru. She not only graduated from the Faculty of Law at the University of Copenhagen, but also went on to further her studies. Chapter 153. Ouyang Ru. Each lawyer possesses their own area of expertise. The realms of economic disputes, marital issues, traffic accidents, and labor disputes are but a few. Zhang Yuning expounded upon this notion. Yet, this particular lawyer, Ouyang, excels in a multitude of fields. Boasting a success rate exceeding 70%, she is undoubtedly one of the firm's most distinguished attorneys. Upon hearing this, Jiang Yuan felt a flicker of interest in this lawyer named Ouyang. Since he intended to accompany someone to Zhuo Tianhong's residence, it was only prudent to engage the most professionally adept individual. Otherwise, bringing along an incompetent person would surely lead to embarrassment. Judging by his secretary Xiao Zhang's remarks, it seemed that this woman possessed significant capabilities worthy of consideration. Please continue, Jiang Yuan prompted. What is Ouyang Ru like in terms of appearance, temperament, and character? Xiao Zhang, somewhat puzzled by Jiang Yuan's inquiries, thought to herself, why not simply see for oneself? Nevertheless, she suppressed her musings and proceeded to introduce. Ouyang's appearance is universally regarded as among the top 3 within our firm. However, her rather assertive personality may. Within Carlo Law Firm, the practicing lawyers, the backbone of the establishment, were diligently attending to their tasks. Alongside them were interns, legal assistants, and various administrative staff. Amidst this group of solemn and earnest individuals, one stood out as particularly unconventional. She was a woman, approximately 27 years old, whose features exuded a mature allure, instantly recognizable as the archetype of an older sister. Yet, the striking red glasses perched on her nose and her neatly cropped hair lent her an air of intellect and competence. She radiated an almost magnetic energy, compelling the attention of both men and women alike, rendering it impossible for anyone to divert their gaze from her. In stark contrast to the focused demeanor of her colleagues, her desk was a chaotic display of documents haphazardly strewn about, which she seemed disinclined to even glance at. A steaming cup of coffee rested in her hand, which she sipped intermittently while her peripheral vision remained fixed on the clock on the wall. It was nearly 5:30, the designated end of the workday, and with just 10 minutes remaining, she indulged in a rare moment of relaxation. Colleagues with a modicum of social awareness would typically refrain from intruding upon her brief respite. However, her assistant, Xiao Li, a recent graduate yet to acclimate to the professional environment, lacked such discernment. Clutching 3 or 4 files, Xiao Li earnestly stated, "Ouyang lawyer, here are 3 cases that have been specifically designated for your attention." Ouyang Ru, upon hearing this, expressed her displeasure. "I am about to clock out. These matters can wait until tomorrow." Xiao Li, visibly anxious, implored, but the higher-ups insist that these cases are urgent. Ouyang Ru languidly stretched, stating nonchalantly, "Listen closely. Leaving work is currently my most pressing concern." The moment she straightened her posture, her alluring figure became strikingly apparent, leaving her assistant, Xiao Li, momentarily at a loss regarding where to direct her gaze. Nonetheless, Xiao Li persistently inquired, "Is it truly so significant for you to leave a few minutes later?" Indeed, it was crucial, particularly so. Ouyang Ru parted her cherry lips and took a delicate sip of coffee. "Life encompasses but a few decades. My creed is to dedicate 8 hours to work, 8 hours to rest, and 8 hours to myself." Xiao Li was momentarily rendered speechless, her face flushing, unsure of how to respond. Ouyang, the lawyer, possessed an undeniable confidence. Prior to her graduation, Xiao Li had interned at another law firm where overtime was the norm, an everyday occurrence. Each lawyer toiled diligently, dutifully embracing their burdens. However, upon joining Carlo Law Firm, she encountered the remarkably self-assured Ouyang Ru, who categorically refused to work beyond hours. When quitting time arrived, even the strongest of forces would be powerless to hinder her departure. Even in the face of urgent cases, she would merely dismiss them nonchalantly, delegating the responsibility to her colleagues. In other firms, such an individual would likely be viewed as a thorn in the side of management, destined to be subjected to petty grievances. Yet, her exceptional capabilities spoke volumes. Not only did she boast an impressive academic record and internship achievements, but as a practicing lawyer, she rarely faced defeat in her cases. Over time, Carlo Law Firm came to accept this exceptional presence. Ouyang Ru glanced once more at the clock on the wall. It was now 5:25. Her coffee mug was empty. "Assistant, I have matters to attend to, so I shall take my leave," she declared lazily. "You stay here and keep up the good work." Xiao Li was taken aback, exclaiming, "But it's not quitting time yet." Ouyang Ru tidied her belongings and stood, saying, "Last month, due to special circumstances, I worked an extra 5 minutes, so I'm making up for it today." Xiao Li souffli protesta. "Our flexible work policy doesn't permit early departures." Ouyang Ru grinned. "My flexible work policy does." With her belongings in hand, she exited the office with an air of exuberance. Not looking back, the few minutes on her way home were perhaps the happiest moments of her workday. However, the atmosphere in the firm today felt oddly peculiar. The receptionists at the front desk were whispering to one another. "I heard Director Jiang Yuan is coming to inspect our firm. What do you think it will be like?" Anyone who can become a director must surely be a balding, greasy middle-aged man. He, the director Wang from the neighboring Xinqing law firm, has toiled for over 20 years to reach his position, exhausting every ounce of ingenuity and effort. It is little wonder that he is nearly bald. One cannot help but wonder if our director Jiang shares a similar fate. Being both bald and greasy would indeed be quite alarming. Ouyang Ru overheard snippets of their conversation. It turned out that the director of her own law firm was coming for an inspection. But what of it? She had already clocked out during working hours. We are employer and employee. Once off the clock, we are merely ordinary individuals with our own personal time. Moreover, this director Jiang is undoubtedly a balding, middle-aged man. Ouyang Ru muttered to herself a few words. If he were a handsome young fellow, perhaps she might have been somewhat interested in meeting him. However, it is hardly plausible for a young man to hold the position of director. Chapter 154. The malfunctioning elevator. Jiang Yuan and his secretary, Xiao Zhang, swiftly arrived at the Carlo law firm. Xiao Zhang took charge of parking, while Jiang Yuan proceeded to enter the firm alone. As he approached the reception desk, the young woman in charge of registration caught sight of his strikingly handsome visage, and immediately, a gentle smile graced her face. A woman's demeanor towards unfamiliar men often hinges upon the man's appearance. If he is an attractive young man, she is likely to perceive him as a good person, thus responding with warmth and kindness. Conversely, if he is less than pleasing to the eye, she may instinctively assume he harbors ill intentions, resulting in a less favorable attitude. Although many women may struggle to comprehend why they are so pragmatic in their judgments, and occasionally feel a twinge of shame for such realism, it remains an undeniable phenomenon. "Young man, are you here to see a lawyer?" The receptionist inquired shyly, her smile lingering. "I have worked here for quite some time and am well-versed in which lawyers specialize in what fields. Would you like to exchange WeChat details so we can discuss further?" Jiang Yuan returned her polite smile and gently shook his head. He swiftly filled out his registration information before making his way to the elevator, prepared to ascend. The receptionist, after being declined, appeared visibly deflated and disappointed. However, her expression transformed dramatically upon glancing at Jiang Yuan's registration details. The information was straightforward, yet an astonishing revelation lay within the important section. Name, Jiang Yuan. Occupation, director. This meant that the striking gentleman was, in fact, the very director of the law firm. Her curiosity ignited. She eagerly shared the juicy tidbit in her company's gossip group. "You're all mistaken. Director Jiang is not a middle-aged, balding, greasy man. He is a young man in his 20s, exceptionally handsome. His looks could easily overshadow the current internet heartthrobs." Yet, while some of her friends chose to believe her revelations, others were clearly skeptical. "Is your source reliable? Our director, a young man in his 20s? That seems implausible. Are you sure someone isn't playing a prank on you? I find it hard to believe as well. I've yet to hear of a law firm director being so young and handsome. It seems rather unrealistic." The receptionist, upon hearing their doubts, began to question her own assertions. However, the registration details plainly indicated his title as director. At this, the group erupted in laughter. "Most likely, someone filled that out as a joke. It's no wonder you're just a little receptionist. Ha ha ha. I thought there was some real gossip, but it turns out to be a simple prank. I knew our director couldn't possibly be a handsome young man. That is just too far-fetched. Alas, you cannot discern even such an obvious jest. It is truly lamentable." Upon hearing the words of her colleagues, even the receptionist began to feel a twinge of insecurity. Could it truly be a prank? Yet, as she recalled Jiang Yuan's leisurely demeanor, it seemed unlikely to be mere jest. At that moment, Jiang Yuan had already stepped into the elevator. Just as he was about to close the elevator doors to ascend, a short-haired girl hurriedly entered the lift. This girl was Ouyang Ru. She had initially been elated to finish her work, but upon reaching the door, she unexpectedly realized that her car keys had been left in the office. Due to her absent-mindedness, she promptly turned back. Otherwise, if she were a moment late and the office door was locked at closing time, she would have had to take a taxi home. Jiang Yuan felt a sudden waft of an alluring fragrance, followed by the entrance of a girl with flowing short hair into the elevator. He cast a casual glance and instinctively assessed her. In terms of appearance, she seemed to be on par with Yao Wenwen. However, her aura was decidedly more capable, and her short hair suited her type perfectly. Particularly striking was the powerful confidence radiating from her features. It was the first time Jiang Yuan had encountered a girl exuding such vigor. He mused inwardly, noting that despite his extensive experience with beautiful women, be it the formidable Lu Shi or the charming Gu Jiehua, none possessed the same spirited essence as this girl. Such an aura was undeniably captivating. Instantly, a notion flickered in Jiang Yuan's mind. Since she was an employee of a law firm, she would essentially be under his purview. Perhaps he should find an opportune moment to invite her into his home as a housekeeper. The thought of watching such a confident and capable person handle household chores and attend to his needs provided an enticing visual delight. Some individuals possess an innate density of soul quality, brimming with self-assurance and vitality. This short-haired girl was undoubtedly one of them. Furthermore, her appearance was quite pleasing to the eye. Having someone like her as a housekeeper would surely be a delightful experience. Meanwhile, Ouyang Ru entertained her own thoughts. The handsome young man's looks were simply ethereal. Since he had come to the law firm, it was likely he was seeking legal counsel. Surely, she could be of assistance. She felt exceedingly confident in her legal acumen. If she were to help him resolve his case, might he not feel inclined to repay her kindness? Just a few days prior, her family had called, urging her to hurry up and arrange a marriage. Given their insistence, perhaps it would be wise to spend a little money to hire him as her faux boyfriend. Bringing him home to appease her family seemed like a splendid strategy. If he performed well, perhaps he could even be promoted to a more permanent role. However, one must navigate through the myriad trials and tribulations they have imposed upon themselves. My standards for choosing a boyfriend are exceedingly high. Just when Jiang Yuan and Ouyang Ru were lost in their thoughts, the indicator and lighting of the elevator abruptly extinguished. A disconcerting sound echoed around them. Clearly, the elevator had malfunctioned. The sudden turn of events caused the two individuals within the elevator to widen their eyes in alarm. Chapter 155. First Aid in the Enveloping Darkness. A profound silence prevailed, allowing Jiang Yuan and Ouyang Ru to hear each other's breaths distinctly. Jiang Yuan remained composed, his arms crossed over his chest as he stood silently, awaiting the arrival of the maintenance personnel. The elevator in this building was equipped with an emergency safety design, and if it was merely a power outage, there would be no significant danger. However, Ouyang Ru was in a different state. She pressed herself against the elevator door with a thud, her body trembling incessantly. Jiang Yuan could clearly hear her breathing becoming increasingly erratic. "Are you all right?" he inquired cautiously. I'm fine," Ouyang Ru stammered, her voice laced with an inexplicable sense of dread, as if a monster lurked in the darkness, poised to consume her entirely. Jiang Yuan suddenly realized that she might suffer from claustrophobia. This psychological condition worsens when an individual is confined in a dark, enclosed space for an extended period, escalating from initial feelings of anxiety and fear to symptoms of chest tightness, difficulty breathing, and ultimately, a state of shock. In the most severe cases, it could even lead to cardiac arrest and death. "How much longer can you hold on?" Jiang Yuan asked. Ouyang Ru could not articulate a response. Her lips quivered with effort, and even her breathing became labored. She could only tap on the elevator door a few times in reply. Jiang Yuan, feeling a sense of urgency, took immediate action. He laid Ouyang Ru down, loosened her collar, and gently lowered her head. Then, he carefully elevated her legs and shook them slightly. These were techniques he had learned in a first aid course during his university days. Over the years, he had retained many of these details, and fortunately, they proved useful today. Indeed, under Jiang Yuan's emergency measures, Ouyang Ru's condition showed some improvement. Yet, the elevator door remained stubbornly closed, and the maintenance personnel were still en route. Ouyang Ru's state, however, continued to deteriorate. Beads of sweat formed on her forehead, and a wave of faintness washed over her, causing her limbs to tremble and weaken. Her responses became increasingly sparse, and she slipped into a semi-unconscious state. Desperate, Jiang Yuan set aside his hesitations. He performed urgent chest compressions and administered mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. In the midst of his hurried actions, a necklace around Ouyang Ru's neck slipped off, falling into Jiang Yuan's sleeve. However, Ouyang Ru was oblivious to it all. Her consciousness was fading, her vision dimming to near-complete darkness. Had it not been for Jiang Yuan's timely interventions, she would likely have succumbed to a perilous state of shock. Fortunately, at that moment, the elevator door finally emitted a chime and began to open slowly. A few maintenance personnel entered the elevator, their faces reflecting concern. "We apologize for the delay. We had some pressing matters to attend to." Upon noticing the critical condition of the young woman in Jiang Yuan's arms, they were taken aback and immediately began dialing for an ambulance. Approximately 10 minutes later, Jiang Yuan watched as Ouyang Ru was taken away by the ambulance. He did not dwell on the minor incident in the elevator. Instead, he entered the conference room of Carlo Law Firm. Upon seeing him, Secretary Zhang immediately bowed her head in a flurry of apologies. "I am sorry, Director Jiang. I am aware of what happened in the elevator, and I should have." Jiang Yuan did not wish to make things difficult for her, and simply waved his hand. He then got straight to the point. "I will be bringing a professional lawyer to handle an important matter the day after tomorrow," he stated. "Based on your recommendation, I would like all these lawyers to come meet me." Zhang Yuning, seeing that Jiang Yuan had no intention of reprimanding her, let out a sigh of relief. She promptly turned to follow Jiang Yuan's instructions, summoning the firm's top lawyers to meet him. Upon hearing that Director Jiang himself would be present, The lawyers eagerly prepared to showcase their abilities. However, when they finally laid eyes on Jiang Yuan, they were taken aback. Is this Director Jiang? Or perhaps his son? Don't be ridiculous. This is indeed Director Jiang himself, though he does seem quite young. Quite young. He is exceedingly youthful and remarkably handsome as well. The rumors were true. Director Jiang was indeed a young man in his early 20s. Jiang Yuan raised his hand, and an immediate silence enveloped the room, so profound that the sound of a pin dropping could be distinctly heard. In this setting, Jiang Yuan was undoubtedly the pillar of support for this group. With a mere gesture, he commanded their utmost attention. He spoke straightforwardly. I have a significant matter to attend to the day after tomorrow and require the most capable lawyer available. I will provide each of you with a piece of paper on which you should write the name of the lawyer you believe to be the strongest overall. You may include your own name if you wish. With that, he instructed Secretary Zhang to distribute notes to each lawyer. Jiang Yuan anticipated that many would write their own names to express their confidence. However, to his surprise, the esteemed lawyers hesitated little, and each wrote down Ouyang Ru's name. Jiang Yuan inquired, "Why have you all chosen her?" From the information Jiang Yuan had gathered, he understood that these lawyers were each proud of their specialized fields. Yet, their unanimous selection of one individual was rather unusual. The lawyers, maintaining their composure, explained, if it were a matter of economic disputes, I would naturally choose myself. However, in terms of overall capability, it is evident that lawyer Ouyang possesses far greater expertise than any of us. Lawyer Ouyang is universally acknowledged as the strongest lawyer in terms of comprehensive ability. Her success rate in cases is notably high, and she has handled numerous challenging cases with remarkable skill. Upon hearing the unanimous praises from these esteemed lawyers, Jiang Yuan nodded thoughtfully. However, he soon inquired, "Where is lawyer Ouyang now?" At that moment, Secretary Xiao Zhang leaned in and whispered, "She is the young lady you encountered in the elevator." Enlightened by her words, Jiang Yuan realized the truth. It was indeed her. Suddenly, a delicate necklace slipped from his cuff and fell to the ground. Secretary Xiao Zhang exclaimed, "Isn't this lawyer Ouyang's?" Jiang Yuan smiled gently and replied, "I shall return it to her personally." With that, he rose and departed. Chapter 156. Pretending to be a boyfriend within the confines of the First People's Hospital of Xiamen, Ouyang Ru slowly opened her eyes, a soft groan escaping her lips. The hospital's distinct and unpleasant scent of antiseptic permeated her senses. How'd I end up here? A fleeting moment of confusion washed over her. Gradually, fragmented memories flickered through her mind, revealing the events that had transpired. It dawned on her that while she was in the elevator, it had malfunctioned, plunging her into a state of unconsciousness due to her long-standing claustrophobia. Fortunately, a young stranger had come to her aid, performing emergency measures that alleviated much of her discomfort. Yet, the thought of Jiang Yuan's urgent interventions made Ouyang Ru flush with embarrassment, akin to being engulfed in flames. She had never even had a boyfriend. Yet, Jiang Yuan had administered artificial respiration and chest compressions to her. This is it. I am no longer pure. A wave of panic washed over her. However, she reminded herself that he had acted solely to save her. Without his intervention, who knows what might have happened. Ouyang Ru found solace in this notion, recognizing that extraordinary circumstances often necessitate extraordinary actions. After the initial chaos subsided, a sense of confusion took hold. What was the name of that young man? What brought him to the law firm? Would she ever see him again? Just as she was lost in thought, a phone call interrupted her reverie. Upon glancing at the caller ID, she let out a resigned sigh. It was yet another marriage proposal from her family. Xiaoru, you're not getting any younger. Although your career is flourishing, you are still a woman, and it's only natural to consider marriage. I found a decent young man for you. He may not be the most handsome, but he comes from a wealthy family. Do come home. I'll introduce you properly. A man fears entering the wrong profession, and a woman fears marrying the wrong man. You're at that age where if you're not anxious, I'm anxious for you. Don't bury yourself in work, or in a few years, no one will want you. Trust me. I know many excellent families with children who are quite impressive, and I assure you, you'll be satisfied. As she answered, she merely responded with perfunctory ahas and yes. Her annoyance with these incessant marriage calls palpable. Yet, a spark of inspiration ignited within her. Why not consider an app for renting a boyfriend? It would be a perfect solution to appease her family's relentless pressure. Ouyang Ru, ever the clever one, quickly devised a plan. Given her family's urgency, it would be wise to procure a temporary boyfriend to placate them. After all, he would merely be a boyfriend, not a fiancé. However, as the thought of renting a boyfriend crossed her mind, she instinctively recalled Jiang Yuan's visage. her fingers unconsciously brushing against her necklace. "Where's my necklace?" Ouyang Ru's eyes widened in alarm as she glanced at her neck. It was pristine, devoid of any adornments. In that moment, she belatedly realized that the necklace she had cherished was mysteriously missing. In a moment of panic, she frantically searched around, hoping to find the necklace that may have fallen within the confines of the hospital room. It was a cherished gift from her twin sister before she departed abroad, imbued with profound, sentimental value. Losing it would indeed be a great regret. Fortunately, as she bent down to scour the floor for the necklace, Jiang Yuan had quietly entered the room. He then retrieved the necklace from his pocket and placed it delicately before Ouyang Ru. Still engrossed in her search, Ouyang Ru was startled when the necklace suddenly appeared before her eyes. She looked up, her surprise turning into joy as she realized it was Jiang Yuan holding the precious item. "Thank you," Ouyang Ru exclaimed with delight. She took the necklace with great reverence. Her eyes filled with gratitude as she gazed at Jiang Yuan. Jiang Yuan merely smiled and replied, "It's nothing, but I do require your assistance with something." He intended to visit the residence of Zhuo Tianheng, the chairman of Tianjun Group, and naturally wished to bring along his most valuable asset. Given that even the elite of the renowned Carlo law firm acknowledged Ouyang Ru's exceptional capabilities, he deemed it only fitting to have her accompany him. However, Ouyang Ru appeared to have misunderstood Jiang Yuan's identity, unaware that he was the director of the Carlo law firm. She assumed he was merely an ordinary client seeking legal help. A cunning smile played on her lips as an idea struck her. "Of course," Ouyang Ru replied with a playful grin, "but assistance is reciprocal. Since I am helping you, you must also help me in return." Jiang Yuan was taken aback, surprised by her boldness. Yet, upon reflection, he realized he had never disclosed his identity as the director in her presence. He found himself quite enjoying this dynamic. It felt refreshingly unrestrained. With a teasing glint in his eye, he inquired, "What do you need my help with?" "I want you to pretend to be my boyfriend and accompany me home for a family dinner." Jiang Yuan was momentarily at a loss for words. Incredulous at her request for him to be her faux boyfriend, he initially contemplated declining and revealing his true identity. However, Ouyang Ru waved her phone, displaying a family group chat. "You need to make a good impression at dinner. My friends and some beautiful ladies from my family will be there. It's going to be quite the lively gathering." A fleeting glance at her phone revealed a distinctly familiar profile picture, a girl in a baseball cap, radiating warmth and sunshine. This girl was none other than Shen Lingwu, one of his university classmates. Jiang Yuan felt a jolt of surprise. He had not anticipated that Shen Lingwu would be in Xiacity. He had previously heard rumors from classmates that she was doing quite well in Nanqing. What could have brought her to Xiacity? As the saying goes, after a prolonged drought, one welcomes the refreshing rain. In a foreign land, one encounters an old friend. Jiang Yuan, in an unfamiliar place, unexpectedly came across an old acquaintance, which piqued his interest immediately. Moreover, with his meeting with Zhuo Tianheng scheduled for the day after tomorrow, he found himself with no pressing matters at hand. Visiting his former classmate Shen Lingwu would indeed be a delightful experience. After all, Shen Lingwu was once renowned as one of the 4 campus beauties during their university days. He couldn't help but wonder how she fared now. Did her beauty remain as enchanting as before? Had she found a boyfriend? Jiang Yuan's thoughts began to stir with excitement. "Very well, I can pretend to be your boyfriend," he said with a subtle smile. To his surprise, everything unfolded so smoothly. Upon hearing Jiang Yuan's unhesitating agreement, Ouyang Ru couldn't help but beam with joy. Chapter 157. Shen Lingwu the following day at 9:15 a.m. at the renowned De Qinghua restaurant in Xiqing, a venerable establishment with a century-old reputation, frequently chosen as a venue for familial gatherings. It is particularly famous for its dumplings, known for their delicate skin and generous filling, leaving an unforgettable aftertaste. The braised pork bones and green tea cakes are also exquisite. Ouyang Ru rose early, meticulously applying her makeup and preparing herself, arriving well in advance to await her companion. Meanwhile, Jiang Yuan calmly sipped his morning tea, a basket of shrimp dumplings placed before him as he engaged in light conversation with her. Ouyang Ru, with a serious demeanor, tugged at Jiang Yuan's sleeve and whispered, "You must be cautious later." Jiang Yuan took a sip of tea, his curiosity piqued. "What is there to be wary of? It's just a meal. Be wary of the women in my family. Each one is quite formidable." At her words, Jiang Yuan chuckled, thinking to himself that he had encountered all sorts of women and had no reason to fear. Noticing his nonchalance, Ouyang Ru felt a pang of urgency. "Did you see the girl at the table ahead?" she whispered into his ear. Jiang Yuan raised his gaze slightly and spotted a young woman adorned with a red beret, her fresh and innocent visage complemented by a delicate white off-shoulder top. Although her looks may only warrant a rating of 8.5, she exuded a captivating charm that lent her an unexpected allure. Jiang Yuan scoffed lightly. Her appearance is decent, but merely that. You surpass her in beauty. Is that what intimidates you? Don't judge solely by appearances. Some of the women in my family possess remarkable cunning. Oh, Jiang Yuan casually sipped another cup of tea, continuing to observe the seemingly innocent girl. Shortly thereafter, a couple took a seat opposite her and began conversing. Ouyang Ru leaned in closer to Jiang Yuan, saying, "That girl's name is Xiaorong. You should pay attention." Up to that moment, Jiang Yuan had not noticed anything out of the ordinary about Xiaorong. However, since Ouyang Ru had specifically warned him, he idly gazed at her a bit longer. After a while, Jiang Yuan was taken aback. The young man from the couple, while chatting, pulled out his phone to play a game. The girl immediately expressed her displeasure, beginning to reprimand her boyfriend. "We're on a break, and you're playing games? Why don't you learn from your colleague, Xiao Lin? He joined the company the same year as you, and is getting a promotion next month. You should be using your time off to learn and think about our future, to earn more money." In a public setting, being chastised by his girlfriend left the young man feeling somewhat embarrassed. He retorted, "What is wrong with playing games during my break?" Seeing him dare to counter her, the girl was about to point an accusing finger at him when Xiaorong interjected appropriately. "Sister, I believe he is simply exhausted from work. Let him relax a bit during his time off. Don't make it difficult for him." Upon hearing her melodious voice, coupled with her thoughtful understanding of him, the young man felt an immediate sense of relief wash over him. This passerby, a young lady, demonstrated remarkable maturity. Not only was she strikingly beautiful, but she also exuded tenderness, consideration, and kindness, qualities that are increasingly rare in young women today. However, upon hearing this, the girl immediately became displeased and remarked, "I speak a few words about my boyfriend for his own good, as I genuinely care for him." Xiaorong, displaying a troubled expression tinged with a hint of grievance, responded, "I understand your intentions are good, but as an outsider, you shouldn't speak of him in such a manner. It would certainly embarrass him." The young man's emotions began to escalate. After all, a man's pride is paramount, and he found it disheartening that his girlfriend seemed indifferent to his feelings while a mere passerby showed him such concern. Frustrated, he tossed his phone onto the table and, growing increasingly angry at his girlfriend's reprimand, felt an undeniable wave of discontent swell within him. As for the passerby, she was exceptionally considerate. The girl, feeling somewhat wronged, retorted, "I am scolding my boyfriend. What business is it of yours?" The young man, now agitated, exclaimed, "She is so considerate and caring. Yet you speak to her in this manner. Isn't that a bit excessive?" The girl was seething with anger, responding, "Then why don't you just make her your girlfriend?" Xiaorong was suddenly overwhelmed with emotion, her face glistening with unshed tears as she plaintively said, "Sister, please don't say that. I could never compare to you. If I were as exceptional as you, I would surely find a remarkable brother to be my boyfriend." Her composure shattered. She adopted a pitiful demeanor that melted the young man's heart. He raised his voice, "She is only trying to offer us good advice. Yet you are here, berating her. How ungrateful." The girl, on the verge of exploding with frustration, shot back, "Good intentions? Are your eyes blind?" The couple instantly fell into a heated argument. Jiang Yuan, observing from a distance, found himself momentarily stunned. This green tea girl possessed quite the allure. He couldn't help but admire her. During his school days, he had encountered his fair share of such characters, but the more sophisticated ones typically lingered around wealthy and handsome men. Based on his experiences, Xiaorong's prowess in this arena was undoubtedly impressive, as her demeanor, tone, and gestures all earned her high marks, truly a master of the art. Ouyang Ru, ever vigilant, interjected, "And she is merely the most innocent and least scheming girl in my family." Jiang Yuan, intrigued, touched his forehead and inquired, "Does your family engage in daily palace intrigues?" Ouyang Ru, looking aggrieved, replied, "I have no idea why there's so many green tea personalities in my family. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't have to venture out alone to establish myself as a lawyer." Approximately an hour later, many guests had begun to arrive at the Dekinghua restaurant, and Jiang Yuan finally had the opportunity to meet Shen Lingwu. She donned a resplendent crimson gown that accentuated her curvaceous figure exquisitely. Her charming visage, alive with grace, possessed a certain allure reminiscent of a spring peach when observed closely. To his astonishment, Jiang Yuan marveled at how she had grown even more beautiful after their long separation. Meanwhile, Shen Lingwu, perceptive and sharp-eyed, instinctively turned to meet Jiang Yuan's gaze after he cast a fleeting glance in her direction. The moment their eyes locked, Shen Lingwu was taken aback. Jiang Yuan, what was he doing here? After Su Qingyu had been unceremoniously dismissed, she felt too embarrassed to confide in her close friend Shen Lingwu about the incident. Following the revelation of Shen Lingwu's substitution of Li for Tao, she had discreetly fled South City to seek refuge. Fortunately, she had a relative named Ouyang in Xiamen to whom she could turn. Yet, she had not anticipated that a simple invitation to dine at the Ouyang residence would lead her to unexpectedly encounter her former classmate, Jiang Yuan, who happened to be Su Qingyu's ex-boyfriend. Chapter 158. The wronged green tea girl. Yet Jiang Yuan was not alone. Beside him sat Ouyang Ru, their proximity and intimate gestures unmistakably indicating a relationship of significance. Shen Lingwu furrowed her brow slightly, but refrained from rekindling old acquaintances with Jiang Yuan. Observing her expression, Jiang Yuan touched his nose, realizing she seemed to have misconstrued his intentions. However, since he had come today under the guise of Ouyang Ru's boyfriend, he deemed it inappropriate to clarify immediately. As more guests arrived, numerous women caught sight of the handsome Jiang Yuan by Ouyang Ru's side. Their interest piqued. That young man is quite dashing. He appears to be Ouyang Ru's boyfriend. I must seize the opportunity and showcase my 36T arts to ensure his attention, they thought. Do not attempt to compete with me. You cannot surpass my allure. Clearly, this young man is my type. His looks are simply impeccable. Ouyang Ru is hardly deserving of such a catch. These green tea girls cast furtive glances at Jiang Yuan, engaging in laughter and whispers. However, the more seasoned green tea practitioners exhibited a distinct lack of interest in him. Their targets were exclusively the elite, affluent men present. While Jiang Yuan was undeniably tall and handsome, his wealth remained a topic of debate. After all, he was merely in his early 20s, unlikely to be a self-made millionaire. The top-tier, wealthy second-generation men in Xiamen were few and far between, and these high-caliber green tea girls were well-versed in their backgrounds. Evidently, Jiang Yuan was merely an attractive figure without the riches to match, and the essence of their pursuits lay in wealth. As the evening progressed, Ouyang Ru excused herself to refresh her makeup, instructing Jiang Yuan to exercise caution in his words and actions. He nodded in acknowledgement. With her departure, the green tea girls immediately began to cast their covetous gazes upon the handsome Jiang Yuan, their desire for his charm intensifying. Leading the charge was the earlier green tea girl, Xiaorong. She subtly approached Jiang Yuan, clutching her stomach with a pitiable demeanor, and said, "Brother, this is my first visit to this restaurant. Could you kindly guide me to the restroom?" She had deliberately spritzed her forehead with water to feign a look of distress, hoping to evoke sympathy. Xiaorong, with her cunning strategy, anticipated that any young man witnessing her plight would instinctively inquire about her well-being, thus allowing her to launch her charm offensive. However, Jiang Yuan deviated from the expected script. Without lifting his gaze, he replied, "This is my first time here as well. I'm afraid I do not know where the restroom is either. Perhaps you could inquire with the cleaning lady next door." He then opened his mobile game, seemingly oblivious to his surroundings, and calmly immersed himself in a match 3 puzzle game. To his demeanor, it appeared as though he regarded the girl, known as Green Tea Xiaorong, as if she were merely a figment of the air. Green Tea Xiaorong was taken aback, momentarily at a loss for words. The atmosphere grew awkward in an instant. She cast a glance at her attire, which was the season's most fashionable straight man slayer look, featuring a delicate, alluring camisole. Typically, most young men would be utterly defenseless against such charm. Yet, Jiang Yuan seemed completely indifferent to her presence, igniting a competitive spirit within Green Tea Xiaorong. Fortunately, she was well-versed in social interactions and quick on her feet. She promptly remarked, "Brother, I apologize for interrupting your game. I merely have a slight discomfort in my stomach. It's nothing serious." Upon hearing this, Jiang Yuan raised an eyebrow slightly and inquired with a hint of concern, "Your stomach hurts?" It seemed she had managed to hook him in. Green Tea Xiaorong subtly lifted the corner of her mouth, feigning shyness as she said, "Brother, are you concerned about me?" Jiang Yuan, scratching his head, replied candidly, "No, I just want to know what you ate that made your stomach hurt, so I can avoid that dish." Green Tea Xiaorong fell silent. Silence enveloped the scene like a shroud. Deep down, she felt disheartened, her expression betraying a sense of grievance as she lamented, "I am truly useless. I lack even the strength to walk to the restroom." In response, Jiang Yuan generously offered, "Oh, I see. Allow me to assist you." Green Tea Xiaorong tilted her mouth slightly in discontent and replied, "No, please, it would be too much trouble for you to help me. What if your girlfriend sees us? She might misunderstand our situation, and I would feel quite guilty for causing any discord between you." Jiang Yuan waved his hand dismissively, saying, "No worries. I don't intend to assist you directly. I'll just call an aunt to help you. Upon hearing Jiang Yuan's bluntly straightforward words, she was utterly flabbergasted. Green Tea Xiaorong could no longer endure the humiliation and hastily concocted an excuse to leave. Yet, she could not shake off the bitter taste of defeat. After a moment of contemplation, a sudden realization struck her. He must have done this on purpose. She thought fiercely, I have been toyed with by a mere boy. In her 4 years in the industry, she had engaged in countless battles, entangled with numerous men and torn apart many couples. Yet today, she had suffered a complete loss at Jiang Yuan's hands. This indignity could not be left unresolved. Upon the return of Ouyang Ru, Green Tea Xiaorong settled near several relatives of the Ouyang family and initiated a conversation about their boyfriend's attributes. Xiaorong, I heard a new boyfriend is the heir of Jingxi Group, with family assets exceeding 100 million. Oh, not all. Those are mere rumors. He is quite frugal. Even the car he drives is just a modest Mercedes. Really? I recall your boyfriend drives an S-Class Mercedes, each worth several million. Quite expensive. Oh, your boyfriend is not lacking either. I've seen him drive Ferraris. And not just one. Your boyfriend's status is quite impressive as well. My boyfriend is merely a small entrepreneur who started from scratch. How could he possibly compare to the affluent background of your partner? The scheming Xiaorong is deliberately seeking revenge against Jiang Yuan. She intentionally stirs the conversation to juxtapose the tangible assets of their boyfriends. Given Jiang Yuan's youth and the fact that he is not a wealthy second generation from Xiamen, he is certainly at a disadvantage compared to the affluent partners that these cunning women have ensnared. Her aim is to make Ouyang Ru lose face, rendering her incapable of holding her head high in front of her friends. Subsequently, she will revel in the exquisite expressions of regret, guilt, helplessness, and frustration that Jiang Yuan will undoubtedly display. The malicious Xiaorong eagerly anticipates this outcome. Offending a woman rarely ends well. Chapter 159. The depth of Jiang Yuan's scheme. Listening to the seemingly casual conversations among the girls around her, they incessantly boasted about the various strengths of their boyfriends. From personal wealth to family background, from the scale of their companies to their luxurious cars and opulent residences, there was no aspect too trivial for comparison. Clearly, this was a deliberate provocation aimed at enticing Ouyang Ru and Jiang Yuan into a contest of one-upmanship. Should either Jiang Yuan or Ouyang Ru succumb to the urge to compare, it would play right into their hands, transferring the initiative to them. Ouyang Ru cast a worried glance at Jiang Yuan. In her eyes, he was merely an ordinary man, rented to play the role of a temporary boyfriend. In terms of financial standing, how could he possibly compete with the affluent second-generation scions that these cunning women had meticulously ensnared? Men, after all, place immense value on their dignity in public. She harbored concerns that Jiang Yuan might feel inadequate. Fortunately, Jiang Yuan remained composed, sipping his tea with an air of tranquility and leisure. It appeared that his mindset was entirely unaffected. This reassured Ouyang Ru somewhat. It seemed his psychological resilience was commendable. However, the green tea girl, Xiaorong, was beginning to feel discontented. She had gathered a few close friends to instigate a conversation with the ultimate aim of embarrassing Ouyang Ru and Jiang Yuan. Yet, Jiang Yuan appeared to be ignoring her entirely. He treated the chattering women as if they were mere background noise, casually sipping his tea and whispering playful remarks to Ouyang Ru. This demeanor, in Xiaorong's eyes, signified that Jiang Yuan regarded her and her friends with utter disdain. This pretentious pauper, with such a calm demeanor, was infuriating. Xiaorong resolved to escalate her tactics. She exchanged a knowing glance with her friends, who immediately understood her intentions, their eyes gleaming with cunning. Approximately 10 minutes later, a young man, around 6 feet tall, but somewhat portly, approached. Xiaoru, let me introduce you to my boyfriend, Yi Kitchen, Xiaorong announced. He is currently the public relations manager at a publicly listed company. If you ever encounter any trouble, you can reach out to him. As Xiaorong feigned enthusiasm in her introduction, the surrounding girls gasped in admiration. To achieve the position of public relations manager at such a young age, his future is limitless. The man named Yi appeared to be a relative of a director from the Yi family's subsidiary, a truly remarkable figure. Xiaorong is quite impressive. She has indeed found such an exceptional partner. Ouyang Ru lifted her gaze and immediately beheld Yi Kitchen, clad in a suit, tall yet noticeably stout. With an air of confidence, he glanced at Jiang Yuan before extending his hand to Ouyang Ru with a bold demeanor. His eyes were filled with arrogance and superiority, clearly believing himself to be of remarkable worth, exuding unwavering self-assurance. A flicker of disdain crossed Ouyang Ru's eyes as she clearly detected an unpleasantly greasy aura emanating from Yi Kitchen, which made her profoundly uncomfortable. However, since he had extended his hand, she felt it would be impolite to refuse. Yet, the prospect of shaking hands with this oily figure left her feeling somewhat queasy. Just as she found herself in this dilemma, a pair of broad hands enveloped Yi Kitchen's outstretched hand. The owner of these hands was Jiang Yuan. "My girlfriend is somewhat shy," Jiang Yuan remarked with a smile. Upon witnessing Jiang Yuan's timely intervention, a wave of warmth surged within Ouyang Ru. Meanwhile, the green tea girl, Xiao Rong, displayed a glimmer of satisfaction in her eyes as everything unfolded according to her expectations. Seizing the moment, she exclaimed, "Xiao Ru, is this your boyfriend? Why don't you introduce us?" Realizing the potential awkwardness of the situation, Ouyang Ru felt a sense of dread. Yet, Jiang Yuan, unperturbed, confidently stated, "I work as a courier for a logistics company. My name is Jiang Yuan." Hearing this, Yi Kitchen wore a smirk that was both mocking and incredulous. "A courier, you say? I never imagined I would one day share a table with a courier," he remarked, his words dripping with disdain. The surrounding green tea girls, who were friendly with Xiao Rong, erupted in laughter. Feigning surprise, Xiao Rong added, "Xiao Ru, your boyfriend is actually a courier? How astonishing." She deliberately elongated the word courier, amplifying the sarcasm in her tone. The atmosphere in the room began to shift, tinged with an air of superiority. Many of the green tea girls cast subtle, derisive glances at Jiang Yuan, filled with scorn and disdain. They would not overtly provoke him, yet their blatant gazes were, without a doubt, a dagger to his pride. Had a typical courier stood in his place, subjected to such contemptuous stares from the green tea girls, he would likely have felt utterly humiliated. Yet, there were also several admirers who silently held a contrary opinion, whispering amongst themselves, "What is wrong with being a courier? That public relations manager looks like a wild boar on a pig, while this courier is quite handsome." Exactly. Given the choice, I would choose the handsome courier over the wild boar any day. They noted Xiao Rong's apparent targeting of Jiang Yuan and wondered if there was some underlying grudge between them. They felt sympathy for the dashing courier, lamenting his misfortune in encountering such a malicious woman. In response to Xiao Rong's mocking remarks, a faint smile lingered on Jiang Yuan's face. Ouyang Ru cast a worried glance in his direction. However, Jiang Yuan, with a glimmer of confidence, prepared to turn the tables. He retrieved a voice recorder from his pocket and proceeded to play back some audio clips of Xiao Rong's earlier flirtations with him. Accompanied by Jiang Yuan's operation of the voice recorder, the affected, sultry voice of green tea Xiao Rong resonated clearly in everyone's ears. "Brother, this is my first time at this restaurant. Could you please guide me to the restroom? Brother, I apologize for interrupting your gaming. I merely feel a bit unwell in my stomach, but it's nothing serious. I truly feel inept, unable even to walk to the restroom on my own. Please, there's no need for you to assist me. It would be quite an inconvenience for you. Moreover, if your girlfriend were to see us, she might misunderstand our intentions, and I would feel immense guilt if any misapprehensions arose because of me." This was a specially customized voice recorder, capable of recording continuously for 24 hours, with impeccable sound quality and convenient playback. Initially intended as a strategic tool against the Yi family, it was designed to capture crucial evidence beneficial for negotiations. However, the rapid capitulation of the Yi family rendered this customized recorder superfluous. Unexpectedly, today it found its purpose. As the alluring and flirtatious tones of green tea Xiaorong echoed through the vicinity, the expressions of those nearby inevitably shifted. Chapter 160. He is the esteemed guest of Chairman Zhua. Jiang Yuan's scheme is too profound to safeguard against unforeseen circumstances. Jiang Yuan had long been carrying a recording pen on his person. Initially, he intended to engage in entrapment to deal with some unscrupulous individuals. Yet, inadvertently, he captured irrefutable evidence of the scheming Xiaorong's advances towards him. Jiang Yuan had no intention of releasing these recordings, wishing to spare her some dignity. However, Xiaorong's blatant self-humiliation, through repeated provocations and the enlistment of a stout companion to embarrass him, left him little choice. Jiang Yuan continued to manipulate the recording pen, even activating the loop playback mode, allowing Xiaorong's seductive dialogue to echo repeatedly. Oh dear, this was quite the predicament. Those present were all seasoned individuals. Xiaorong's words, accompanied by her alluring tone, were unmistakably flirtatious. This was a blatant attempt at seduction. Xiaorong, devoid of shame, despite having a boyfriend, audaciously pursued the handsome delivery man. Moreover, the delivery man, having withstood her temptations, found himself targeted by her. observing the expression on her boyfriend's face. One could see he was on the verge of exploding with rage. However, the delivery man might soon find himself in trouble. That stout fellow had a notorious temper and could very well direct his ire towards him. Xiaorong was utterly bewildered. She never anticipated that Jiang Yuan would employ such cunning tactics. Attending a gathering with a recording pen in tow, he had captured her brazen attempts to seduce him as undeniable proof. Meanwhile, her boyfriend, the rotund Yi Qichen, was visibly shaken. He felt as though he had been utterly deceived. His girlfriend, the seemingly innocent and charming Xiaorong, was, in fact, a manipulative schemer. While he was absent, she had already been flirting with a handsome young man. Yi Qichen, seething with indignation, exclaimed, "How could you be this kind of woman?" Xiaorong quickly grasped his hand, pleading, "Please let me explain." Explain? The lengthy recording served as irrefutable evidence. The truth was that Xiaorong had intended to seduce Jiang Yuan, only to be rejected. And this was merely one instance. Perhaps other men had not rebuffed her at all. Yet, he remained blissfully unaware of these transgressions. The chubby Yi Qichen was on the verge of tears. It dawned upon him that he had been the fool all along. What man could endure being the unsuspecting fool? He promptly shrugged off Xiaorong's hand and resolutely declared, "Let us break up." Xiaorong felt as though she had been struck by a debilitating blow. Although Yi Qichen was somewhat portly, he was the finest catch that her caliber of scheming could hope to ensnare, a veritable prime candidate for a long-term arrangement. To her dismay, she not only failed to ensnare Jiang Yuan, but had also lost a valuable prospect. Xiaorong found herself engulfed in regret, anguish, depression, and despair. Yet, after parting ways with her, Yi Qichen turned to Jiang Yuan, casting a gaze filled with resentment. Although his girlfriend may embody the traits of a manipulative individual, the audacity of this courier to record and audibly play back the recording in a public setting is utterly perplexing. Is he not intentionally attempting to humiliate himself? Scoundrel of a courier, should you not hastily silence that recording? Yi Qichen's eyes glinted with fury as he menacingly addressed Jiang Yuan. "If you dare utter another word, do you believe I won't ruin you?" The revelation that his beloved girlfriend was, in fact, deceiving him and enticing a courier had driven Yi Qichen to the brink of losing control. He could no longer maintain his facade. Confronting Jiang Yuan with an almost scornful tone, demanding the cessation of the recording. Each word captured on that device felt like a dagger to his pride. Jiang Yuan, in Yi Qichen's eyes, had become a thorn in his side. Jiang Yuan's expression reflected mild displeasure. What manner of tone was this? He had no intention of silencing the recording. Instead, he elevated the volume by 3 notches. Instantly, more patrons at the Qinghua restaurant were privy to the voice of the manipulative Xiaorong. Yi Qichen's countenance darkened immediately. "Scoundrel of a courier, are you reveling in this moment? You think yourself clever, believing that a mere recording device grants you the power to humiliate both her and me? Let me assure you, your cleverness shall be your downfall." His vehement words fell upon Jiang Yuan's ears like mere barking of a dog. Jiang Yuan slowly shook his head, his gaze shifting towards a middle-aged man approaching from a distance. It was Lu Yiming, the proprietor of the Qinghua restaurant. His rare appearance was surprising. Had a distinguished guest arrived? Why was he striding toward the direction of the courier? As Lu Yiming made his way over, Yi Qichen had no choice but to temper his demeanor. Yet, a flicker of triumph sparkled in his eyes. Lu Yiming had a close personal relationship with his father. Typically elusive, Lu Yiming entrusted the management of the restaurant to others, but his sudden appearance clearly indicated his intention to support Yi Qichen. Yi Qichen promptly approached Lu Yiming, feigning innocence as he lamented, "Uncle Lu, this courier is utterly shameless. He is entangled in an improper relationship with my girlfriend. Would you be so kind as to discipline him in light of my father's standing?" Though his voice was not loud, several patrons overheard his disgraceful claims and regarded him with disdain. Yi Qichen, filled with self-satisfaction, believed that in this domain ruled by his Uncle Lu, it would be a simple matter to deal with the insufferable courier. However, the ensuing actions of Lu Yiming left everyone astounded. A resounding slap echoed through the air as Lu Yiming delivered a powerful blow to Yi Qichen's ample face. The impact was so forceful that it startled all present, the sound reverberating through the establishment. Yi Qichen stood momentarily stunned, a look of shock and bewilderment etched upon his features. Boss Lu erupted in a furious tirade. "Your woman? What do you even amount to, and what is she worth? Would young Master Jiang even cast a glance in her direction? Before you distort the truth, could you perhaps engage your feeble mind? Young Master Jiang is a distinguished guest of Mr. Zhu from Tianjin Group, and I was specifically assigned to attend to him. A guest of Mr. Zhu Tianhang from Tianjin Group. The moment this status escaped Boss Lu's lips, a wave of astonishment swept through the crowd. Ding. Shot points 800 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 ding. Shot points 800. Chapter 161. Shifting blame. A chorus of astonished voices erupted around. Tianjin Group, a colossal enterprise in Xiqing, could undoubtedly rank among the top 3 giants in terms of its formidable strength. Their chairman, Zhuo Tianheng, was a figure of great renown, unmatched even by the Yi family. Yet, here stood Jiang Yuan, a young man in his early 20s, who was inexplicably regarded as a distinguished guest by Zhuo Tianheng. This revelation sent ripples of astonishment through the crowd. Ouyang Ru's boyfriend was, astonishingly, a VIP of Tianjin Group. The young man, scarcely past 20. What merit could he possess to earn such esteem from Chairman Zhuo? Clearly, he was no ordinary individual. His demeanor exuded an air of composure that suggested he was unfazed by the circumstances. Boss Lu even referred to him as young master, and publicly slapped the rotund man, overtly seeking to curry favor with Jiang Yuan. Jiang Yuan felt a flicker of surprise within. Zhuo Tianheng had covertly arranged for someone to welcome him. Initially, he had concealed his identity to accompany Ouyang Ru to a family gathering. Yet, it appeared that Zhuo Tianheng had anticipated his presence and arranged for his reception in advance. It seemed this old fox had been quietly monitoring his movements. Zhuo Tianheng. Jiang Yuan pondered briefly. His keen interest in me raises the possibility that he has uncovered my other identity. Meanwhile, the portly Yi Qichen was utterly petrified. Having just ended his tumultuous relationship with the scheming Xiaorong, he had directed his pent-up frustration towards Jiang Yuan, an inconsequential young man in his eyes. However, the stinging slap mark on his face and Boss Lu's furious expression served as stark reminders that he had, indeed, committed a grave blunder. This handsome young man, Jiang Yuan, could very well be a figure of considerable significance. Otherwise, why would the chairman of Tianjin Group treat him with such deference? Regrettably, Yi Qichen had just insulted Jiang Yuan, mocking his status as a mere courier and threatening him. Such arrogance had only succeeded in deeply offending someone of potentially great influence. He had sought to bully the weak, but had unwittingly encountered a formidable opponent, now facing the consequences of his actions. If he did not act swiftly, his fate could very well be sealed. Zhuo Tianheng's resources and connections were vast, capable of orchestrating his ruin at will. In that moment, Yi Qichen was drenched in cold sweat, his mind a whirlpool of anxiety. The true instigator of this predicament was undoubtedly Xiaorong. Had she not sought to entangle Jiang Yuan, leading him to this gathering to mock both Jiang Yuan and Ouyang Ru, the situation would not have spiraled into chaos. Resolved, Yi Qichen made a decisive choice to shift the blame. He would deflect all responsibility onto Xiaorong. Though she was once his cherished girlfriend, the revelation of her true nature, a manipulative green tea girl, had rendered him devoid of any hesitation. He had already severed ties with her. Thus, he could rightfully absolve himself of guilt. He shifted all the blame onto her, claiming that his relationship with young Master Jiang was merely a misunderstanding. His intentions were commendable, yet regrettably, his actions were too sluggish. Just as his lips began to move, preparing to utter something, that scheming woman, Xiaorong, had already half knelt on the ground, tearfully imploring Jiang Yuan, "Young Master Jiang, it is all my fault. Truly, everything is my fault. The words I spoke to you were provoked by the man surnamed Yi, who frequently mistreats me. I have endured his abuse for so long, my mental state has become unstable, and I yearn for someone to confide in. That man Yi deserves nothing but the worst. He not only insults and beats me, but also coerces me into doing things against my will. Did you hear the threats he made to you just now? He regards you with utter disdain. I have suffered under his threats and insults, and truth be told, we are both victims of this despicable character." Upon hearing this, the crowd began to feel a measure of sympathy for Xiaorong. If she had indeed been subjected to prolonged domestic abuse, her portrayal as a pitiable victim would be justified. Her pursuit of Jiang Yuan could be seen in a less unfavorable light. This woman, while not entirely blameless, evoked some pity if she had genuinely endured long-term abuse. The true culprit would be that overweight man named Yi. Observing her tears, it seemed unlikely they were feigned, and her visible wounds lent credence to her claims. If her words bore any truth, then Yi indeed bore the brunt of responsibility. What a tragic fate for the young man. Should he have offended the Tianjin Group, he would likely face severe repercussions from his father upon returning home. Yi Qichen stood dumbfounded, unable to deflect the blame, only to find himself ensnared in a clever counterattack. The blame had been deftly redirected back onto him, casting him as the victim. Truly, she was a master of manipulation. Furthermore, the injuries on her body were evidently self-inflicted. Yet they had now become the most compelling evidence against him. Yi Qichen felt a chill run through him, nearly choking with indignation. She is spouting nonsense. Do not listen to her fabrications. However, his voice was drowned out by the crowd. People were taken aback, shifting their sympathy entirely towards Xiaorong. While the overweight man was swiftly labeled as the villain, Jiang Yuan sighed, noting the sluggishness of the man's reaction. Even his attempts at blame shifting were inept. What use was it now? Tonight, I shall shed a tear for you. Boss Lu had already contacted Yi Qichen's father. Although they were old acquaintances, offending the Tianjun group would yield no favorable outcomes. After a little over 10 minutes, Yi Qichen's father arrived, and upon learning that his son had angered a distinguished guest of the Tianjun group, he was filled with rage. He immediately struck Yi Qichen several times across the face. The slaps were crisp and resounding. Had others not intervened, he would likely have delivered a more severe beating. Even a colossal enterprise like Tianjun Group's esteemed guests can be offended. Yi Qichen's father was nearly breathless with anxiety. After reprimanding his son, he turned to Jiang Yuan, pleading fervently. However, Jiang Yuan remained composed, sipping his tea without raising his gaze, disinterested in engaging with them. Upon noticing Jiang Yuan's demeanor, Boss Lu swiftly surmised his thoughts and promptly ordered the pair to be escorted away. Ouyang Ru was taken aback, gazing at Jiang Yuan in astonishment. You are indeed a distinguished guest of Tianjun Group? Jiang Yuan merely smiled in response, choosing silence. The way others regarded Jiang Yuan shifted dramatically, particularly the senior socialites, who suddenly targeted him as their next conquest. It dawned on them that they had underestimated Jiang Yuan, nearly allowing this significant catch to slip through their fingers. Fortunately, it was the socialite Xiaorong and her portly companion who unveiled Jiang Yuan's impressive status. As this minor incident came to a close, Ouyang Ru's parents fortuitously arrived at the restaurant, only to hear about the unfolding drama. Upon learning that Jiang Yuan was a guest of Tianjun Group, their brows furrowed in concern. Chapter 162. The displeasure of the in-laws. Jiang Yuan sat calmly, sipping tea. Today, he was masquerading as Ouyang Ru's boyfriend, merely participating in a charade, thus he paid little heed to minor disturbances. Ouyang Ru's parents, his future in-laws, were soon to arrive. However, following the earlier incident, which inadvertently revealed his close ties with Zhuo Tianheng, the gazes of those around him now held a mixture of fear and reverence. His association with the Tianjun Group rendered him a figure of considerable stature, one that many would look up to. In the eyes of Ouyang's relatives, Jiang Yuan was undoubtedly a prized son-in-law. Their glances towards Ouyang Ru were tinged with envy. How fortunate she was to have found such an exceptional boyfriend, handsome and well-connected with the Tianjun Group. A son-in-law of such caliber would be nearly impossible to find, even with the aid of a lantern. Should they establish a relationship with a behemoth like the Tianjun Group, their future would be nothing short of prosperous. Ouyang Ru gazed at Jiang Yuan with growing admiration. Initially, she had perceived him as an ordinary person, yet he exceeded her expectations in capability. Approximately 3 minutes later, a middle-aged couple entered the Qinghua restaurant. Ouyang Ru rose to greet her parents, Ouyang Zhen and Ouyang Wei. The surrounding onlookers regarded them with envious eyes. Recognizing that their prospective son-in-law, Jiang Yuan, was closely linked to the Tianjun Group, a status that was undeniably impressive. However, Ouyang Zhen's expression revealed displeasure. Xiao Ru, is this your boyfriend? Ouyang Ru was taken aback, puzzled by her father's discontent. Nevertheless, she introduced him. Yes, this is my boyfriend, Jiang Yuan. I heard he has a significant connection with the Tianjun Group. Indeed, Ouyang Wei interjected sharply. The people from the Tianjun Group are not to be trusted. Break up with them at once. The crowd gasped at her words. Speaking ill of the Tianjun Group was taboo, especially in such a public setting. Even Boss Lu's countenance turned dark, his expression growing stern. The Tianjun Group is one of our key partners. Kindly clarify your statement. Ouyang Ru's eyes reflected concern as she inquired, what is going on? Ouyang Zhen shot a cold glance at Jiang Yuan, folding his arms in disdain. His demeanor suggested he was ashamed to be associated with Jiang Yuan. He then declared loudly, our Ouyang family is a distributor of electronic components. We have collaborated with the Tianjun Group several times. Their true nature is a source of widespread indignation. While components have varying quality, the Tianjun Group has a tendency to select the superior parts for export at lower prices, leaving us with inferior goods in our own country. Their objective is to cater to foreign consumers with high-quality yet affordable products, while selling mediocre goods at exorbitant prices to their own compatriots. The Venerable Mr. Ouyang, a man of considerable age, spoke candidly and immediately denounced such despicable conduct. He is a genuine patriot, fiercely devoted to the Dragon Kingdom, and in matters like this, he cannot tolerate even the slightest injustice. Tianjin Group's opportunistic approach is nothing short of sycophantic, earning the disdain of many. A look of contempt flickered in Ouyang Zhen's eyes. While others regard Tianjin Group as a formidable entity, a veritable giant with beneficial connections, he perceives them as a band of unscrupulous individuals, unworthy of any association. His gaze toward Jiang Yuan was equally filled with disdain. At that moment, Jiang Yuan began to grasp why the cunning old fox, Zhuo Tianheng, sought assistance from his lawyer. It was clear that his numerous misdeeds had been exposed, and he was likely facing legal repercussions. Thus, Zhuo Tianheng was in a panic, seeking help from his law firm. Upon learning of this, Jiang Yuan felt a profound contempt for Zhuo Tianheng, who sold inferior goods at inflated prices to his own people while exporting quality products to please foreigners. Jiang Yuan slowly rose, then smiled and said, "Uncle, in truth, Zhuo Tianheng and Tianjin Group are merely inconsequential figures. Why should we let them provoke us? Since they have committed such acts, I shall certainly teach them a lesson." His words were delivered with a sense of ease, as if he were merely discussing the notion of reprimanding a wayward child. Ouyang Zhen and Ouyang Wei were momentarily taken aback, but soon thought Jiang Yuan was merely boasting. Tianjin Group, after all, was a colossal presence in Xiqing. A young man in his 20s might occasionally find himself in their good graces, but to claim he could easily handle them was undoubtedly a delusion. Ouyang Zhen frowned and cautioned, "Young man, when speaking and acting, do not let your enthusiasm lead to recklessness. Avoid making grandiose claims, lest you become the subject of ridicule later." Jiang Yuan smiled faintly, neither affirming nor denying the remark. However, the onlookers' perceptions of him began to shift once again. Initially, they believed Jiang Yuan was relying on Tianjin Group as his trump card, which lent him such confidence in his words. Yet now, it seemed the reality was entirely different. If Jiang Yuan was not merely posturing, his statements implied that Tianjin Group was dependent upon him. His intention to reprimand them resembled a father chastising his son. Such audacity from Jiang Yuan was astonishing. He dared to assert that Tianjin Group and Chairman Zhuo were insignificant. Was he truly boasting, or was there more to him than met the eye? Initially perceived as a distinguished guest of Tianjin Group, he now appeared far more complex than that. This young man, named Jiang Yuan, who casually claims to teach Tianjin Group a lesson, is indeed a rare individual, one that could scarcely be found more than 3 times throughout the entirety of Xiamen. Chapter 163. My daughter is quite modest. Ouyang Ru gently tugged at Jiang Yuan's sleeve and whispered, "Please, do not feign bravado any longer. Continuing down this path will only displease my parents. They have always detested those who boast excessively. It would be prudent for you to sincerely apologize to them." In her eyes, the disparity between Jiang Yuan and Tianjin Group was akin to that of an ant versus an elephant. Even if Jiang Yuan possessed tenfold the audacity to provoke Tianjin Group, it would merely amount to a futile endeavor, akin to an ant attempting to shake a tree, an exercise in futility. Even with 10 lives, it would scarcely suffice to compensate for the repercussions. They simply existed on disparate planes of existence. Upon hearing her concerned tone, Jiang Yuan could not suppress a laugh. It was amusing to realize that he was perceived in such a manner. "What are you laughing at?" Ouyang Ru, noticing Jiang Yuan's inexplicable smile instead of an apology, grew increasingly anxious. Jiang Yuan decided against concealing anything further and produced a custom-made business card. Having been impressed by the diamond-studded card he had seen during his encounter with Zhuo Tianheng, he had commissioned an even more opulent version that very day. He casually handed the card to Ouyang Ru. She initially appeared perplexed, unsure of why he had suddenly presented her with the card. However, upon closer inspection, she discovered that this card, adorned with numerous diamonds, bore his name in stark black letters. The title director of Carlo Law Firm was emblazoned clearly upon it. "Ah, so you are Director Jiang from our law firm." Ouyang Ru was taken aback. No wonder he had visited the firm that day and had been treated as a VIP by Tianjin Group. Yet, even if he held the title of director at Carlo Law Firm, it did not imply an ability to contend with Tianjin Group. Notification, shot points 300. After her initial astonishment, Ouyang Ru began to worry about Jiang Yuan. Even if he was the director of Carlo Law Firm, what of it? While Tianjin Group might seek to exploit him, It did not mean they would regard him as an equal, nor would they allow him to teach them a lesson. Jiang Yuan also casually handed business cards to Ouyang Zhen and Ouyang Wei. Notification. Shot points 300 notification. Shot points 300. So, you are indeed the director of Carlo Law Firm. Little Rue has managed to find herself a boyfriend of such standing. How impressive. Ouyang Rue's parents had certainly heard of the esteemed reputation of Carlo Law Firm, their ears pricked by its renown. Upon viewing Jiang Yuan's card, they felt a modicum of respect for him. However, deep down, they still believed Jiang Yuan had merely been indulging in grandiose rhetoric to impress them. Earlier, he had boldly declared his intent to teach a lesson to Tianjun Group. While the position of director at Carlo Law Firm was undoubtedly esteemed compared to the average person, how could he possibly hope to admonish the representatives of Tianjun Group? Nevertheless, despite this skepticism, Ouyang's parents' perception of Jiang Yuan had transformed significantly. To achieve the status of a director at a prominent law firm at such a young age was undoubtedly a sign of boundless potential. They began to reassess him anew. Youthful, handsome, and promising, a quintessential son-in-law template. Alas, there remained the slight flaw of his tendency to boast, which was rather unbecoming. However, no one is without flaws. The more Ouyang's parents contemplated, the more they realized that Jiang Yuan was indeed quite admirable, causing them to temporarily cast aside his earlier remarks about teaching Tianjun Group a lesson. Jiang Yuan, being lively in nature, held a profound respect for the patriotic elder, Ouyang Zhen. At the dining table, Jiang Yuan and the elderly couple engaged in cheerful toasts and amiable conversation. Witnessing the flourishing rapport between Jiang Yuan and her parents, Ouyang Rue couldn't help but entertain the notion of having Jiang Yuan genuinely become her boyfriend. The atmosphere was so delightful that, despite her usual aversion to alcohol, she indulged in a considerable amount of both red and white wine. The effects of the alcohol soon painted a rosy hue across her charming face, rendering her slightly dazed. A side of her, usually kept at bay, began to emerge. If he truly were my boyfriend, that wouldn't be so bad. Under the influence of the wine, Ouyang Rue gazed at Jiang Yuan's handsome visage, a shy smile gracing her lips. Given such a splendid opportunity, perhaps she could intoxicate him and, once he was tipsy, escort him home, thereby turning pretense into reality and making him her genuine boyfriend. It must be said that Jiang Yuan's striking good looks had an undeniable allure for women. Coupled with his revelation of being the director of Carlo Law Firm, Ouyang Rue found herself quite intrigued. Additionally, her already poor tolerance for alcohol meant that even a small amount left her feeling lightheaded. As the saying goes, inebriation often reveals hidden truths. Under the influence of alcohol, one may unearth a suppressed persona lurking within. She immediately resolved to get Jiang Yuan thoroughly drunk, then take him home, transforming the charade into something real. At that point, having him as her boyfriend would surely be delightful, wouldn't it? With this thought, Ouyang Rue promptly filled Jiang Yuan's glass to the brim with high-proof liquor. Meanwhile, Ouyang's parents, having also indulged in a few glasses of wine, began to feel slightly tipsy, showering their daughter with praise. Our little Rue is exceptional in every way. She has always been at the top of her class since childhood, though her personality is a bit shy and reserved. Old man, what nonsense are you spouting? Our little Rue is merely modest. Alas, she is far too reserved, which is why we've worried for her so long. But today, meeting this young man, we realize our concerns were utterly unfounded. Hearing her parents repeatedly extol her modesty made Ouyang Rue's hand tremble slightly as she poured more wine for Jiang Yuan. However, as the alcohol took effect, her inhibitions began to dissipate. Modest? Oh, I'm certainly modest. She laughed heartily while refilling Jiang Yuan's glass. Drink up. You must finish or you cannot leave. Jiang Yuan looked at her with a hint of sweat forming, inwardly critiquing her poor drinking etiquette. She had consumed merely a little, yet seemed to be losing her wits. Moreover, in her haze, she incessantly urged him to drink. Did she intend to take advantage of him? His sense of caution heightened immediately. Meanwhile, Ouyang's parents continued to lavish compliments upon their daughter. Our daughter is simply too shy, lacking the ability to interact with boys. Xiaoru is excessively reserved, which is why she has turned down so many remarkable young men. As Jiang Yuan listened to these remarks, he observed Ouyang Rue pouring him drinks with a demeanor reminiscent of a rogue, his forehead furrowed with disbelief. What modesty is this? It is evident she intends to intoxicate me, harboring ulterior motives. Ah, women. However, Jiang Yuan possessed an unexpectedly high tolerance for alcohol. Despite consuming a considerable amount of both red and white wine, his gaze remained clear and focused. Ouyang Rue, now feeling the effects of the alcohol, grew displeased. Yet, She soon recalled the advice of a friend from her biology class. If one encourages another to drink carbonated beverages, the carbon dioxide within would expand their stomach, and subsequently, if alcohol were introduced, the enlarged stomach would increase the contact area with the alcohol, thereby enhancing the absorption efficiency and making one easily inebriated. Jiang Yuan, come. Open your mouth. Have some cola, Ouyang Ru said, her words slightly slurred. It's quite delicious. Hurry and drink. Chapter 164. The game of rock, paper, scissors with the goddess. Observing Ouyang Ru's intoxicated state, Jiang Yuan could only chuckle in disbelief. She incessantly insisted on drinking cola for herself. Yet it was evident that there was no cola at the table. She was simply inebriated, her mind clouded, and her words nonsensical. Ouyang's parents, clearly unable to handle their liquor, decided to leave. Before departing, they entrusted Jiang Yuan with a solemn request. Our daughter is now in your care. You must look after her well. If she has had too much to drink, you need to manage the situation appropriately. Jiang Yuan instinctively nodded in polite acknowledgement. However, once Ouyang's parents had departed with satisfied expressions, he felt a sense of foreboding wash over him. As anticipated, with her parents gone, Ouyang Ru shed her final inhibitions. Her unruly nature began to surface. Drink up, hurry. Are you even a man? Ouyang Ru tugged at Jiang Yuan's tie, nearly shouting. Not drinking is a disgrace to me. Ouyang Ru, considering this was a family gathering for Ouyang, allowing her to continue her drunken antics would spell disaster for her. Awakening from this debacle would surely lead to social ruin. In such extraordinary circumstances, extraordinary measures were required. Jiang Yuan was no pushover. He promptly scooped Ouyang Ru into his arms and exited the Grand Qinghua Hotel. The surrounding elite women, noticing his imminent departure, grew frantic. They had no intention of missing out on the treasure that was Jiang Yuan. His mere looks had already captivated them, but upon discovering that he was the head of the Carlo law firm, their interest intensified. Yet, just as they collectively sought to approach him, Jiang Yuan retrieved a voice recorder from his pocket, tossing it into the air with a flourish. The expressions of the women shifted dramatically, revealing their reluctance. Yet they swiftly turned away. They were all too aware of the fate that befell the earlier woman, Xiaorong, who had lost a valuable connection. These elite women were accustomed to maintaining multiple advantageous relationships. Losing the opportunity with Jiang Yuan while forfeiting their existing connections would be a grievous miscalculation. The voice recorder served as a deterrent, dispelling any thoughts of mischief from the aspiring sirens. What a remarkable treasure, Jiang Yuan mused silently. He carried Ouyang Ru directly to his luxurious Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost, where his chauffeur, Yao Wenwen, had been awaiting their return for quite some time. Engrossed in a mobile game, she was startled but intrigued to see Jiang Yuan arrive so soon, carrying an inebriated young woman. Boss, back so soon? Oh, and you brought a drunken girl with you. What are your intentions? Yao Wenwen teased with a playful grin. You didn't get her drunk and plan something untoward, did you? Ah, I see. So you're that kind of person. I'll have to be extra cautious around you from now on. Jiang Yuan retorted, exasperated. Don't be ridiculous. She barely drank half a glass. I didn't force her to drink. Why are you inquiring so much? Why not drive? A flirtatious smile danced upon Yao Wenwen's lips as she playfully remarked. All right, let's drive. But are we heading home or to a hotel? Jiang Yuan, sensing the teasing tone in her voice, promptly delivered a playful smack to her forehead. Home, he commanded. Yao Wenwen, feeling the sting, clutched her head and drove with a look of feigned grievance. However, midway through their journey, Ouyang Ru, growing increasingly displeased, chimed in, alcohol. We need a drink. She flitted between acting like a mischievous child and a rowdy troublemaker. A woman inebriated in a vehicle undoubtedly posed a perilous situation. Indeed, had it not been for Jiang Yuan's quick reflexes at a sharp turn, a minor accident could have ensued. Yao Wenwen, beads of cold sweat forming on her forehead, suggested. Boss, perhaps we should find a hotel to temporarily settle her. If we let her continue like this, it could become dangerous. Jiang Yuan reluctantly nodded in agreement. Soon, the trio arrived at a nearby upscale hotel to rest and secured a room. Little did they know, upon entering the room, Ouyang Ru resumed her drunken antics. In a moment of inspiration, Yao Wenwen proposed, Boss, why don't we play a game with her? Jiang Yuan looked at her, surprised, and asked, what game? Let us play rock, paper, scissors. The winner can command the loser to perform a task, while the loser must acquiesce to one request from the winner. Since she desired to drink, they could treat it as a reward for the game. Before Jiang Yuan could respond, Ouyang Ru cheered. Let us go. I will defeat you both. To prepare for the stakes of the game, Jiang Yuan specifically requested the finest Maodai from the hotel. This exquisite liquor was a rare treasure, worth at least 100,000. However, Jiang Yuan was indifferent to the price. It was merely a reward from his previous winnings. What concerned him was how troublesome Ouyang Ru became after drinking. He entertained the thought of simply letting her drink herself into oblivion to resolve the situation. Thus, he procured this exceptional Mao Dai. The trio then officially commenced their game of rock, paper, scissors. In the first round, the results were as follows. Jiang Yuan chose scissors. Ouyang Ru chose scissors, and Yao Wenwen chose cloth. Regrettably, the one facing a penalty was not Ouyang Ru. Yao Wenwen's cheeks flushed crimson as she shot a shy glance at Jiang Yuan. Boss, although the rules of this game allow you to command me, please refrain from making any outrageous demands. Jiang Yuan nodded, his mind wandering back to the recent instances where Yao Wenwen had crossed boundaries with him. It seems the tables have turned in my favor. Pointing to a clean rug in the hotel room, Jiang Yuan declared, "Go over there and do 30 push-ups for me." Yao Wenwen, upon hearing this, could hardly believe her ears and instinctively shrieked, "Push-ups? Standing before you is a striking beauty, and you dare to ask me to perform push-ups? Spare me the pleasantries. Just get on with it." Chapter 165. The hangover upon hearing Jiang Yuan's rather impudent request. Yao Wenwen felt a sharp sting to her pride. Here she stood, a vibrant beauty, and yet he dared to make such demands of her, considering the undeniable charm of her boss. She might have tolerated an overly audacious request, but to merely ask her to perform 30 push-ups was an affront. Who did he think he was looking down upon? With gritted teeth, Yao Wenwen lowered herself to the ground, begrudgingly commencing the push-ups. In her heart, she thought, just wait until I have the upper hand. Fortunately, her dedication to fitness had sculpted her figure to perfection, making the task of completing 30 push-ups merely a slight challenge that left her slightly breathless. However, the emphasis lay in the fact that Yao Wenwen's physique was nothing short of exquisite, and as she executed her push-ups in the room, she transformed into a striking spectacle. Her alabaster arms, reminiscent of lotus stems, supported her weight as she rose and fell with each push-up, her entire form resembling a graceful vessel dancing amidst the waves. It was an utterly captivating sight. Jiang Yuan, despite his seasoned experiences with beauty, couldn't help but silently commend her. Indeed, quite impressive. As she completed the 30 push-ups with relative ease, a charming flush graced her cheeks from exertion. Meanwhile, the inebriated Ouyang Ru interjected loudly. "I haven't made my request yet. Pour me a drink." According to the rules of their game, the victor could impose a demand upon the vanquished. Jiang Yuan had just suggested the push-up challenge, prompting Ouyang Ru to now demand alcohol. She tossed the exquisite Mao Tai liquor Jiang Yuan had procured directly in front of Yao Wenwen. Then, she seized a goblet nearly the size of a fist and filled it to the brim. "Drink it all," Ouyang Ru exclaimed. Upon witnessing the quality and quantity of the liquor, Yao Wenwen's eyes widened in disbelief. This was no ordinary street-side brew, but a truly fine spirit. Such potent liquor could easily lead to intoxication, and many who boasted their drinking prowess would falter after just a few sips. Although her own tolerance was decent, she knew she could not withstand several glasses of this caliber. Desperation washed over her as she glanced at Jiang Yuan, seeking his assistance. "She's already had too much and has lost her sense. You needn't heed her demands," Jiang Yuan replied after a moment of contemplation. Upon hearing his words, Yao Wenwen felt an overwhelming sweetness fill her heart, akin to tasting honey. Her boss would not force her to drink for the sake of appearances, and he offered her a graceful exit. It felt as though Jiang Yuan truly cared for her well-being. However, after a brief reflection and with a determined resolve, she replied, "No, rules are rules. If I were to play tricks, it would only bring shame upon you. I will drink." Jiang Yuan regarded her with a hint of surprise as he watched her courageously lift the sizable goblet of fine liquor. Yao Wenwen steeled herself, tilting her head back to pour the exquisite spirit down her throat. As the fine liquor slid down her throat, her eyes widened in astonishment. The intense aroma of the alcohol tantalizing her taste buds, yet accompanied by an even more powerful after-effect. It felt as though a flame was igniting within her throat. She resembled a red tea bag steeping in a large cup of hot water, absorbing every essence. A substantial draft of genuine spirits filled her belly. The vigorous exertion of 30 push-ups had significantly enhanced her body's capacity to absorb alcohol. Even Yao Wenwen appeared slightly tipsy, her senses beginning to blur. "Drink. The boss drinks too." Yao Wenwen clapped her hands in laughter. "Let us indulge until we are thoroughly intoxicated." It was evident that she too was becoming quite inebriated. Jiang Yuan, both exasperated and disdainful, observed the two drunken women, longing for a swift conclusion to this unexpectedly chaotic game. You both can rest here for the night. I shall return to my residence, he declared, intending to retreat to his royal abode. However, barely had he made his move to leave when Yao Wenwen and Ouyang Ru forcibly dragged him back. With a resounding click, they even locked the door to the hotel room. Where do you think you're going? Not until we're thoroughly drunk. They insisted. Drink, keep drinking, or let us play a game. Unease began to creep into Jiang Yuan. It seemed he had ventured too far. The half-shadows concealed the women's faces, revealing only the smiles playing at the corners of their lips. The two women, now heavily intoxicated, began to exhibit peculiar behavior. Very well, let us play a game. Jiang Yuan contemplated, opting for a strategy of retreat. The loser must not cry. Yao Wenwen, stifling a drunken hiccup, wore a dismissive smile. Am I afraid of you? Ouyang Ru was even more straightforward, placing the remaining Maotai before them, shouting, the loser must drink until they drop. Jiang Yuan, weary of their incessant chatter, understood that reasoning with women was akin to attempting to dissuade a tiger from devouring cabbage. Their words were a logic unto themselves. To reason with two women inebriated beyond measure was as absurd as a eunuch discussing childbirth. Ultimately, the loser would be compelled to drink, and once they were thoroughly incapacitated, peace would reign, Jiang Yuan mused. Yet fate has a peculiar way of playing tricks. In the second round of rock, paper, scissors, Jiang Yuan called rock, Yao Wenwen chose paper, and Ouyang Ru also opted for paper. In the third round, Jiang Yuan declared paper, while Yao Wenwen and Ouyang Ru both revealed scissors. In the fourth round, Jiang Yuan once again chose rock, Yao Wenwen selected paper, and Ouyang Ru followed suit with paper. Having lost 3 consecutive rounds, Jiang Yuan inwardly lamented his predicament. It seemed that he would be the one drinking until oblivion. Ouyang Ru seized a large bottle of Maodai and began to force it into his mouth. Even Yao Wenwen, intoxicated, mimicked Ouyang Ru's actions, insisting on pouring more alcohol down Jiang Yuan's throat. Ouyang Ru, liberated by her drunkenness, harbored ulterior motives, seeking to intoxicate Jiang Yuan in order to create chaos. Yao Wenwen, following suit, plunged him deeper into this fiery pit. Despite Jiang Yuan's remarkable capacity for alcohol, he found himself overwhelmed by the sheer volume of fine liquor flooding his system. A sense of impending doom washed over him. Today was bound to be troublesome. He silently cursed his predicament, realizing that the clarity of his mind was slowly succumbing to the intoxicating effects of the potent spirits. Just before losing consciousness, his phone vibrated, indicating an incoming call or message. Yet, in that moment, Jiang Yuan was utterly oblivious to his surroundings. Gradually, as the exquisite wines continued to flow, he became increasingly reckless in his indulgence. Drink up, drink up. Tonight, we shall not return until we are thoroughly inebriated. I'm not drunk, I assure you. My tolerance is exceptional. Chapter 166. Zhuo Tianhan's luxurious yacht at 9 o'clock the following morning. As Jiang Yuan awoke, he found himself lying comfortably on a grand hotel bed. Almost immediately, a throbbing headache from the hangover assaulted him, prompting him to close his eyes and furrow his brow. Fragments of memories began to coalesce in his mind, gradually revealing the events of the previous day. To his astonishment, he realized he had spent the entire night drinking with 2 women in the same room. A rather ludicrous situation. Alcohol is a treacherous poison, Jiang Yuan lamented, feeling the intensity of his headache. However, upon inspecting his attire, he found it intact, indicating that nothing untoward had transpired the previous night. He let out a sigh of relief, but his moment of solace was short-lived. From the bathroom, the voice of Yao Wenwen echoed, "Boss, are you awake? I've helped you get dressed." At this revelation, Jiang Yuan's heart skipped a beat. She had assisted him in dressing? What on earth had happened last night? Had he been taken advantage of? Surely not. Jiang Yuan strained to recall the events, but for those who had succumbed to drunkenness, remembering the aftermath is often a formidable challenge. His mind was a blank slate, the memories of the night's escapades entirely erased. This was undoubtedly a disconcerting predicament. At that moment, Ouyang Ru emerged from the bathroom, her face flushed with embarrassment and confusion. Adorned in a pristine white bathrobe, she inquired, "Do you remember what transpired after you got drunk last night?" Jiang Yuan shook his head, indicating he had no recollection whatsoever. Ouyang Ru appeared both anxious and bashful, her demeanor starkly contrasting her earlier inebriation. Just then, Yao Wenwen also appeared in her bathrobe, boldly remarking, "Whatever happened is inconsequential. Our boss is quite handsome, so we haven't lost out, right?" This comment left Jiang Yuan with a furrowed brow as he contemplated the situation seriously. In his school days, he was known as the pure and dependable young gentleman, a paragon of innocence. How could he possibly engage in any impropriety under the influence of alcohol? This was clearly not in his character. Thus, Jiang Yuan resolutely declared, "I assure you on my integrity that I absolutely did nothing last night. You can trust my character completely." Ouyang Ru and Yao Wenwen exchanged silent glances, a hint of awkwardness lingering in the air before they hesitantly responded. "But we cannot trust our own characters." Jiang Yuan stumbled slightly, nearly losing his balance. At that moment, his phone rang, and upon answering, he discovered it was Zhuo Tianheng calling. "Brother Jiang, weren't we supposed to meet today? I even sent you texts and called you last night to remind you to come early." It was then that Jiang Yuan recalled their arrangement for a meeting that day. However, upon learning of the misdeeds of the Tianjun group, Jiang Yuan was certainly not inclined to let Zhuo Tianheng off easily. "I will be there shortly," Jiang Yuan replied. Upon receiving Jiang Yuan's response, Zhuo Tianheng immediately breathed a sigh of relief. After hanging up the phone, Jiang Yuan found himself enveloped in a contemplative silence. He glanced at the shy and anxious Ouyang Ru, then turned his gaze to the poised and confident Yao Wenwen. An idea struck him, and he spoke up, "Rest assured, I believe nothing untoward occurred." Ouyang Ru, intrigued, inquired, "How can you be so certain? Have you remembered everything?" Jiang Yuan shook his head. "No, I cannot recall anything at all, but we can discuss this matter from a scientific perspective." Ouyang Ru asked, "A scientific perspective? How so?" Jiang Yuan elucidated. "When the alcohol content in the human body reaches between 100 to 300 milligrams, it indeed induces a state of mild euphoria, often giving rise to peculiar thoughts. However, as the alcohol approaches the hypothalamus, body heat begins to dissipate, creating a counteractive effect, leading to the degradation of hormones. Before any impulses manifest, such thoughts typically vanish into thin air. Moreover, the accompanying adverse effects such as headaches, drowsiness, and nausea render these negative notions merely fleeting thoughts. Once the alcohol content surpasses 300 milligrams, one enters a state of blackout, drifting into a deep slumber. Therefore, based on these observations, I firmly believe that we were entirely unscathed last night." Jiang Yuan passionately articulated his reasoning, and even he found himself somewhat convinced by his own assertions. Ouyang Ru nodded, though with a hint of skepticism. "You certainly make a valid point." She then turned to enter the bathroom to change, preparing to accompany Jiang Yuan to Zhuo Tianheng's location. Yao Wenwen, curious, asked, "Boss, was what you just said really true?" Jiang Yuan affirmed, "Absolutely." Yet, Yao Wenwen was not easily swayed. She questioned, "But I still feel something is amiss." Jiang Yuan replied, "Do not overthink it. Please make the call to arrange for that golden yacht. I instructed it to dock at the port near Xiqing yesterday." Despite her doubts, Yao Wenwen prioritized Jiang Yuan's request. Jiang Yuan sighed in relief. In truth, the scientific rationale he provided was indeed accurate. However, he remained uncertain about what had transpired the previous night. Surely nothing happened, he thought to himself. It must be true, nothing at all occurred without a doubt. Meanwhile, Zhuo Tianheng felt a twinge of displeasure. Standing aboard his luxurious yacht, he gazed out at the tranquil sea. This was his cherished super-luxury yacht, valued at several billion. Today, it was brought out specifically to entertain Jiang Yuan, a prized possession he rarely showcased, even to other esteemed guests, who would ordinarily be treated to more commonplace vessels. Were it not for his request of Jiang Yuan, he would not have been willing to part with his treasured yacht. However, to his astonishment, Jiang Yuan was over an hour late for their agreed meeting time. This was truly a display of utter disregard. He had always detested those who lacked a sense of punctuality. In Xiamen, this was the first individual bold enough to stand him up. Zhuo Tianheng wore a displeased expression. Did he presume himself to be a figure akin to the richest man in Xiamen, treating me with such disdain? Yet, just as his anger began to simmer, a super yacht, approximately 3 times the size of his own, entirely coated in a layer of precious gold, gradually approached him. Zhuo Tianheng immediately received a report from his subordinates. What? A golden yacht? Zhuo Tianheng was taken aback. Chapter 167. The luxurious golden cruise ship. Upon hearing the report from his subordinate, Zhuo Tianheng immediately became unsettled. The opulent cruise ship he was currently aboard was the pinnacle of luxury available in Xiamen City, with a staggering 12 decks. Measuring approximately 172 meters in length and 46 meters in height, it could effortlessly accommodate thousands of revelers. The interior boasted an array of entertainment facilities, including a golf room, basketball court, theater, cinema, gymnasium, and swimming pool. It was akin to a mobile entertainment metropolis upon the sea, exuding grandeur. However, it was now brought to his attention that a golden cruise ship had appeared, its sheer size surpassing his by several magnitudes, and it was adorned in gold. What did this imply? Its decks were more numerous, its interior space more expansive, its entertainment offerings more abundant, and its various amenities far more diverse. Undoubtedly, in terms of both collectible and intrinsic value, it eclipsed his own luxurious vessel by a considerable margin. Zhuo Tianheng felt a twinge of displeasure. As the illustrious chairman of Tianjin Group, having invested a fortune in this cruise ship, it was disheartening to see it so easily overshadowed by another. Whose ship was this? And which foolhardy individual had the audacity to anchor this golden cruise ship so close to him? Was it not a blatant attempt to humiliate him and undermine his dignity? At that moment, his newly appointed secretary approached, presenting a document. His previous secretary, Chen Changqing, had been replaced due to offending Jiang Yuan and had thus been dismissed. This new secretary was more handsome and taller than Chen, though his presence was somewhat less commanding. Having received the latest updates, he had come to report on matters concerning the wealth interview rankings. Chairman Zhuo, he began, the last segment of the wealth interviews seems to have garnered sponsorship from numerous significant figures in the capital, and it is now being produced jointly by 17 television stations. They will no longer be limited to ranking based solely on stock prices and assets. Instead, various information channels will be utilized to curate and rank a series of lists, such as those for luxury cars, opulent residences, and prestigious watches. Upon hearing this, Zhuo Tianheng's interest was piqued, and he eagerly inquired, "Then please check the cruise ship rankings for me. What position does my cruise ship hold?" The new secretary paused for a moment before responding. The rankings have just been established, and the information may not be entirely comprehensive. Your cruise ship currently stands at 12th place overall and 3rd place in Xiamen. Only 3rd place. Zhuo Tianheng felt a surge of resentment. This was the most luxurious cruise ship he had procured through various avenues. Yet, it languished in 3rd place. It was evident that the top 2 positions in the Xiamen cruise ship rankings were likely held by some hidden magnates. Despite Zhuo Tianheng's vast holdings in Tianjin Group, granting him considerable influence over the affluent circles of Xiamen, he was acutely aware of the vastness of the world beyond his own. Indeed, there were always greater powers at play, and the depths of wealth were unfathomable, with affluent individuals abounding. The luxurious cruise ship they possessed was undoubtedly far superior in value and price compared to his own. Where does this golden cruise ship rank? Could it merely be a hollow shell, lacking substance? Zhuang Tianheng inquired, his curiosity piqued. I am currently unable to ascertain the ranking of this golden cruise ship, as the details of the top 3 vessels and their owners are shrouded in secrecy, replied the secretary. Give me some more time, and I shall attempt to uncover the complete information regarding the cruise rankings through alternative channels. Upon hearing this, Zhuang Tianheng could no longer remain composed. He rose from his seat and strolled onto the deck, gazing at the golden cruise ship. As he observed it up close, he was struck by the opulence and majestic scale of the vessel. If his own luxury cruise ship could be likened to a local magnate, then this golden ship resembled an emperor ruling over the wealth of the realm from within a palace. The comparison was simply not on the same level. I must discover whose ship this truly is. Zhuang Tianheng resolved to personally meet the enigmatic owner of the golden cruise ship to ascertain their intentions. To his astonishment, a somewhat familiar figure gradually emerged from the vessel. Zhuang Tianheng could hardly believe his eyes, for the figure bore a striking resemblance to Jiang Yuan, whom he had encountered just days prior. This cannot be. Although this fellow possesses some means to disrupt the Yi family, and even owns a legendary law firm, how could he possibly own a golden cruise ship valued at no less than 10 billion? Zhuang Tianheng mused, sensing something amiss. Even with the grandiose Tianjin Group at his disposal, he could not claim the ability to casually purchase such an ultra-luxurious item. Could it be that Jiang Yuan has borrowed this ship? Is there someone backing him? The questions swirled in his mind, just as a storm of doubt raged within him. Jiang Yuan descended from the golden cruise ship, accompanied by Ouyang Ru, exuding a calm demeanor. Zhuang Tianheng approached Jiang Yuan, his mind filled with inquiries. However, upon seeing Jiang Yuan's attire, he felt a twinge of displeasure. Jiang Yuan was clad in a casual t-shirt, his hair unkempt, appearing entirely relaxed, as if he had merely stepped out for a stroll. In contrast, Zhuang Tianheng was impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, having taken great care to present himself well. Clearly, Jiang Yuan did not regard this meeting as a formal occasion, an attitude that struck Zhuang Tianheng as rather audacious. In truth, Jiang Yuan's casual appearance was merely the result of a hangover from the previous night, leading him to hastily change into somewhat soiled clothing. Nonetheless, Zhuang Tianheng chose not to express his discontent. Instead, he offered a polite smile, saying, "Young friend Jiang Yuan, I did not expect you to arrive aboard this magnificent golden cruise ship, truly an eye-opener for me." Although Jiang Yuan harbored no fondness for the old fox, he nonetheless offered a polite remark. "Oh, this is merely an ordinary vessel." Upon hearing this, Zhuang Tianheng was filled with a desire to strike Jiang Yuan. How could one refer to such a magnificent super yacht as an ordinary ship? This attitude was undeniably infuriating. However, he harbored doubts about the ownership of the ship. Zhuang Tianheng suspected that Jiang Yuan had